Okay, but when we store some data on that disk or partition, we have one problem. If my partition size is 10 GB, okay, and it's the size of partition is full, then I have to increase the size. So what we do, we just normally add another disk. We just normally add another disk and 1 minute. We just add another disk, okay, and then we store some data in that disk, okay. But in operating system to attach another disk, there is a bug, means what we can say, there is a problem in this scenario, okay. What we get, we can, if you want to take the backup of disk 1, then for creating backup we have to unmount it. We have to unmount it. We have to like, we want to create the snapshot, we can't create the copy of it, okay. So we have to unmount it, so it will give us a downtime. You will get downtime. So to solve this challenge, we have LVM concept, okay, logical volume manager. Using LVM, what we can do, we have disk 1, we have disk 2, okay. These are our physical disks, physical volume. Disk 1 and disk 2 are my physical volume, okay. We take disk 1 and disk 2 and create one group, means my disk 1 size is 1 GB, disk 2 size is 1 GB. So what we can do, we can attach these both disks and create one group, and this group is known as volume group, okay, volume group. And the size of volume group is now 2 GB, okay. So what benefit we get when we use volume concept, okay, we can create the snapshot, okay. If you want to what we say, if you want to increase the size of our partition, we don't need to unmount it, we don't need to like remove these disks. What we can do, on the top of volume group, we create another disk 3 and attach same disk to that LVM, means volume group, okay. Clear? एनी डाउट? यहाँ तक कोई डाउट है किसी को? सब क्लियर है? ओके. So then we use our volume group VG to create LV, logical volume. Okay, so the size of our VG is 2 GB. Uh, Rajan, I will revise again when the concept complete. Okay, don't, when the concept will complete, I will revise again. Okay, so when we create VG, from that VG we create LV, and now the size of LV is 2 GB. Okay, but if you want to increase the size of LV, then firstly we have to increase the size of VG, means our VG size is 2 GB, then we can't create LV more than 2 GB. Okay, so if you want to increase the size of LV, firstly we need to increase the size of our VG, and increasing the size of VG we need to add physical value. Okay, so start this. Okay, so let's do the practical. So This is my Linux terminal. If you want to check the PV physical value, so we have PV display command. Okay, it will show the all physical value. Now I have only one value, physical value, which is already created at the time of installation. Okay, SDA2, in which my main root operating system, root install means my slash drive. You can check the lsblk command, list block devices. You can say here I have SDA. Then in SDA2 partition, I have my disk name SDA. In that disk, I have two partition, SDA1 and SDA2. Okay, from my SDA2 partition, there are LVM created. You can see RHL underscore VBox hyphen root. The size of this LV is 35 GB. You can see the type here, LVM, and it's mounted to the slash drive. Okay, and there is another LVM created with using the same partition, RHL hyphen VBox swap partition. Okay, the size of is 4 GB and it's around 8 or 9 GB. Okay, it's ROM size. It's not the part of, sorry, it's not part. Okay, it's yes, zero drive. Okay, the size of my swap partition is created using LVM, so we can increase the size of that LVM and we can increase the our swap partition size. Okay, and we want to increase the size of our slash drive. So what we do, we just increase the size of this LVM and our slash drive size will be automatically increased. Okay, so for doing this practical we need disks. Okay, we need disks, but now I'm not gonna using any disks. If you want to try this practical, what you can do, you can use your VM and create the disks there. If you know about, you can simply open VM in setting, storage part. You can create the hard disks here. Okay, VDA, whatever you want. But and for AWS you can use EL, what we say, EC2 instance, and create a EBS volume and then attach it. Okay, but I am using now, there is one concept called loopback devices. If you know about, I am gonna use loopback devices. It's not a real device, it's just like software. So what is the use of loopback device? We use loopback device to simulate the environment. Okay, so if you want to practice it, you can use loopback devices if you don't have storage. So to create loopback device in Linux, we have one command, dd, disk dump command. Okay, this command is used to copy the data from disk to disk dump. You can dump the disks. Okay, so we have dd command, and in dd command we have option input from if. Okay, so I want to take the input from slash dev slash 0. Okay, and the output of this will store in slash root slash dix1.img. This is gonna create one file in my slash root folder. Okay, with name dix1.img, and this is the slash dev slash 0 folder, in which we use some kind of, to tune the performance, we use some this folder for networking performance. Okay, but in this folder, if you check the if you cat this folder, you don't see any data. You can't able to see any data. There is no data in this folder. Okay, so I'm gonna use dd input from equals to slash dev slash 0, output of slash root slash dix1.img. Okay, and from this folder, this is file. Okay, from this file I want to take the it will copy the data in block. Okay, so block size equals to 1 MB. I want to copy block per MB. Okay, this, if you don't understand this, don't worry, it will not ask in the exam. I'm just using this concept to create the logical device. Okay, and how many block I want, count equals to 1024. Okay, so what it will do, it will create the 1024 block. Per block size is 1 MB. Okay, so if I press enter, it will take some time. You can see now, if I check ls hyphen l slash root slash dix 1.img, the size of this file is 1 GB. It's created. So I'm gonna use this file to create a disk. So if you want to create the, if you have file and you want to use that file as a disk, you can do that. So that's why I created the dix1.img file using garbage data. Okay, so if you want to use, so what you can do, if you want to convert the file into disk, so we can use the loopback device concept, loopback device. And to create this file into disk, so we have loop setup command, yellow setup. Okay, so what it will do, it will use that file and create into the loopback device. Okay, and the use of loopback device is yellow setup command. What we can do, if you have file and you want to encrypt the file. Okay, so if you know, anyone know about encryption, so a crypt setup command. So what we can do, we can encrypt the disk. So if you want, anyone want to decrypt the file, so what we can do, we can use uh, convert that firstly convert that file into disk, then encrypt that disk. Okay, so the file will be automatically encrypted. This is the one of the use. There are lots of uses. Okay, so I'm gonna use this concept. Okay, so I want to create another file dix2.img because I need two disks. Okay, 1 GB. So I create the physical value, then I will create the vg, so my vg size is 2 GB. Okay, so the second disk is created. So we can use yellow setup command. If you want to check how many loopback devices I have, we have happen yellow option. So I don't have any loopback device. If you restart your operating system, it will delete the loopback device. It's temporary. Okay, so for creating loopback device, I am gonna use yellow setup and the /dev /loop 0. I am gonna give the my disk name is /dev loop 0, and the file from which I want to create is in root folder dix1.img. Okay, now if we check, you can see one loopback device is created. Okay, if you check with lsblk command, list block device, you can see 1 GB size loop one device is created. Okay, so using this concept, I am gonna create another. Just give it. So let me do one thing. Same way, I am gonna create the another loopback device from dix2, and the name of my second loopback device is dix1. Okay, so if you check yellow setup hyphen l, there are two loopback devices connected. Means this is my first disk, this is my second disk, and the size of, you can't see here the word, if you check lsblk, the size of this 1 GB 1 GB. Okay, anyone have any doubt till here? Clear? Now I am gonna create, if you want to check how many physical value we have, pv, so we have pv display command. Okay, and there is one more command, pvs. You can also check the physical value using pvs command, but it will show the less information. You can use mostly use pv display command to check the allocation and then uid. Okay, so now I'm gonna create pv/dev pv create. We have pv create command to create the pv/dev1/loop 0, then /dev1/loop 1. If I press enter, you can see physical value successfully created. Okay, now we gonna create the, if you check pv display, you can see is a new physical value, pv size 1 GB, and is not allocated to any vg. You can see no here, but you can see yet, yes, but full. The size of it not usable 3 mm. Okay, now I'm gonna create vg volume group. So if you check vg display, I have only one volume group, rhl vbox. So I'm gonna create vg create If you check the help of VG create, you can see VG create volume group name, then we have to give the physical volume name. So the name of VG, I'm gonna create VG, create the name of VG, my underscore new underscore VG, and then slash dev slash loop 0, then slash dev slash loop 1. Okay, if you press enter, you can see volume group my new VG underscore VG successfully created. Okay, now if you check VG display command, new VG is created, and the size of new VG you can check here from my data metadata free 2 GB in size. Okay, now we are gonna create the LV. So we have LV create command. First, let me check the LV display. I have this two LVM created from D slash SDA1 and SDA. Sorry, from SDA1, I have two LV created. The size of one LV is for swap partition, and this is my main root partition where is my operating system installed. Okay, so I'm gonna create LV create. If you check the hell, we can create LV using the block size also. Okay, there are multiple ways to create LVM. So let me first explain you. You can create LVM directly giving by, you can directly give the size like 10 GB. But there is one more way. We can use the block way. We can define the block size. Like I want to use the block size, one block size is equal to 8 MB. Okay. So if my one block size is 8 MB, so then I define the count, how many block I want. So if you want two blocks, so my LVM size is 16 MB equals to 16 MB. So like that, we can also create the LVM using the block size. Okay, but we are gonna create using the normal size. So we can also create the LVM for caches, storing caches. If you know about, we can use some cache. You can see here cache pool. If you want to create the store the cache, so you can also create the LVM for that. But we are going to use normal. So here you can see LV create command linear. We want normal, so we have linear option. So LV create command, you can use capital hyphen L, then the size of LV, how much we want to create. Then we have much more option. If you want to define the units, then we can define, but we don't want. Then the VG name, and then we can give the LV name which we want to create. Okay, so we have LV create command, LV create hyphen L. I want the size of 2 GB. Okay, if you want to use the entire size, means the size entire size of our VG volume group, we are going to create the LV from the VG. So we can use hyphen small l, then we have some option of percent 100 free, something like that. You can use this combination, so it will create the LVM from the, it will take the entire size of VG. Okay, but I am gonna give like capital L, then 2 GB, then the VG name, so my underscore new underscore VG, then the LV name, my underscore new underscore LV. If you press the enter, physical what error I get, physical value my LV not found in value group new VG. Let just fit physical value not found in VG. So we have to first tell the LV name my underscore new underscore LV name my underscore sorry which. Okay, cannot process VG, cannot find, not found. Let me take VG display. So the name of my VG is my underscore new underscore VG. Okay, so if you use my underscore, so you don't need to remember the syntax, just open Google and check how to create LVM from VG. Okay, so you will get the documentation, just open it and check PV display we created, VG create we created, VG display. You can also specify if you want to check the details of only specific volume group, then we can use VG display my underscore new underscore VG. So it will tell the details only of that VG volume group. Okay, you can also use that. Then we have LV create hyphen n volume project. Okay, so sorry, we have hyphen en option to define the name of LVM. Okay, so we can use hyphen en option. Then if press enter, the is has insufficient space. Why we are getting this error? We have VG of 2 GB, but we can't able to create the. Okay, so I will explain this later, but now I'm gonna just create 1500. It will also give error, I think. Okay, so you can see LV created successfully. Logical value created successfully. If we check the LV display command, TSPLA. Okay, so the new volume group is created successfully. Okay, the size of new volume group is 1.46 GB. GIB, sorry. Okay, now if you check LSBLK command, you can see here we have new LVM 1.5 GB. Now you can mount this LVM to any of the directory and store the data directly in this LVM. But we can't able to store because it's a loopback device. Okay, so we can't able to store. But if you have mount, then we have mount command. We can use mount command to mount this disk to a specific directory. But there is one bug in mount command. It's not a bug. Okay, if we mount the file system using mount command, if we mount the file system using mount command, after restart it will automatically unmount. Okay, so for making the mounting process permanent, we in Linux we have one special file. If you know, we have vim. Let me open ctc/fstab. This is the fstab file. When operating system boot, they always check the fstab file. Okay, if the partition entry in this fstab file it's available, then it will mount. If it's not, then it will automatically unmount. Okay, so let me just firstly explain you what is mean by a fstab file. The field here, what is the first field, second field. Okay, then you can try by yourself. Okay, but it's very important to understand this field, why we have this field, why we use the UID, what is UID. Okay, so if you want to in this file, okay, if you check the syntax of this file, so first field we have the name of device. Okay, but instead of using name, we always use UID. If you want to check the UID of partition, just like process, we have process ID for every unique process. Just like in Linux operating system, for every disk you have unique UID for every partitions. So if you want to check the UID, so if you check the BLK command, if you want to check anyone UID, then you have BLK ID command. It will show you the all UID of the partitions. If you want to check loopback one, it also has a UID. Okay, so we always use UID because when we are reordering the partition, the name of the partition it will sometimes change. If you are now here we can check we have SDA2. Okay, but sometimes if you reorder the partition, the name of the partition is changed. Sometimes it's gonna come SDA1 also. Okay, it's depend on the file system which we are using. Okay, so in here we always use UID. Then the mount point, we have second field is mount point. Okay, if we are using the swap partition, we don't need to mount it, then we have none keyword. Here we using the swap partition and we don't need to mount it, then we have none keyword. Okay, if you check the manual of man/etc/fstab file. Okay, I'm not able to open. Let me just explain. Okay. So we have second field is mount point where we want to mount the partition. Okay. Then the format of the partition, which type of partition it has. It is XFS or ext3, ext4. So the my main root slash partition is XFS type. So we need to define the type here. Okay, then we have swap partition, so we need to define the swap partition. So in boot we define XFS. If you are using like, let me explain. So in first field, second field, third field, fourth field. Okay, fourth field you need to define which type of partition it has. It is using the NFS network file system, so you need to define the NFS here. We can also use the NFS file system to mount at boot time. You can also mount the NFS file system at boot time, so you need to define the NFS here. So now we are using the normal partition, so we need to define default. And the third field, you can see we always use 0. So the 0 mean here is you want to create the enable the backup of partition or not. Okay, so if you want to enable the backup, we type here 1. If you don't want to enable the backup, we type 0. So the fifth field is backup, for backup. Okay, and the sixth field here is for scanning the partition. When operating system boot, we always scan the partition. Okay, so we have keyword here, multiple keyword here, 1 2 3. So if you check the value of every keyword, you will find. If you want to scan this partition before boot partition mount, so you can use one keyword, two keyword, like this. Okay, so this is the information about fsstep file. But if you um manually add the entry, and if your entry is like wrong, if you don't give, like, if your partition name or UID is wrong, your partition type is wrong, so if when you are booting the operating system, you will get control D error. Okay, so if you create the wrong entry in this file, we don't have backup of this file. Okay, so it is only one file which is automatically run at the mounting time, boot time. We don't have backup, so we have to make changes very carefully. Okay, so if you get the uh, when you are booting the operating system, if you get the error, this error is called control D error. Means you have some bug in your means you are missed typo in this file, fstab file. Okay, so you to solve this control D error, you can check on the Google, but I will suggest you please check this file, try to add entries. Okay, and if you want to let's move to the another part. Okay, so please interior ask you about fstab file. What is fstab file, why you use, how to mount the partition permanently. Okay, so practice skill here, we will discuss the next point, how to reduce and how to extend the size of LPM. Okay, fourth field, let me see. First field, second field, third field, fourth field. The fourth field in fstab file means the partition. If you know about we use NFS, network file system. NFS network file system. If you are using NFS, we have CIFS also for networking protocol. So which protocol, if you are using the file system, means the file system are the data of a file system. If we are using NFS setup, so data will come from NFS server. So we need to define the partition type. Third field, we need to define the partition type, means which, from which type the partition is formatted, format type, partition format type, and the mount type. You can by default we use default if you are created the partition using normal disk. But if you are using the NFS or CIFS, then we have lots of options. You can check the FS tab, fourth field, all options. Okay, you can check. You can also use the means, let me use, let me tell you. You can also use if you are ENFS. So we in the third field you can also define the permissions. Means this the file system are read only or write only, RWRO. Okay, you can use also use sync option, auto sync, yes sync. You can also sync the operating system. So I think in the format type, so I think in the format type, your partition type, if you are using NFS, then we define the NFS here. Okay, so this is for the permissions. Which permission you want to give the, what permission you want to give in the partition, like this partition. So if you are using the RW read write permission, okay, so we define here RW, or you can check here we have multiple permission. We can enable the introduction character and block within the file system. Yes, UID. You can set the set UID, set GID. We are going to discuss the sticky bits when we discuss the about set UID and set GID. We have read only permission. We can also mount the partition in only read only. Means the user, if you access the that partition, they can't able to write anything. They just have read only access. If you use by default, then we include the read write permission, SUID, dev, execute, auto, and no user. So you can check the documentation. Okay, but it's very useful file that we use in the mounting. Okay. Yes, yes. uh Archit, you are right. The this field are is basically for permissions, means which mount, at which permission you want to mount the, what is the actual use of DD. So guys, DD command is mainly used for disk dump. Okay, if you search for disk dump command, okay, you can use DD command. If you want to dump the entire disk, first disk data to another disk. Okay, so in that case we can use DD command. No, so normally what we do in DD command, so we use DD. Okay, DD input from equals to, so from which it's just like copy command, but it's not like a copy command. It you can think like it's copying the data, but it's more it's lots of different between copy command and lookup command. Okay, so it's very different from copy command. Here we define the input device, like in CP command we first define the directory from which directory we need to copy the data. So here we define the disk slash dev loop 0, like we want to copy the data from loop 0 or SDA1, SDA2. You can use SDA1 partition to dump the data from this partition to another partition. Okay, then output where we want to dump this data, then we want to dump this data in slash dev slash loop 0. Then we define the base block size. So this DD command always copy the data in block. If you can check the manual, so you can define the block size like 50 MB. I want per block copy, per block size is 50 MB. So the size of what means, if it's copying the one file in 1 second, so the file 1 second. Okay, if DD command copying one file to another disk in 1 second, the size of the file is 50 MB. It's always copy. It means it's copying the block, one block in 1 second. So the size of the block is 50 MB. You can also define, you can check the manual, like if you want to don't want to give the block size count, you want to copy the entire disk, so we don't need to give it. Okay, you can check the manual. Can you please help me read between four primary, extended, logical, physical value and physical value? You said we can define slightly that there should be a disk name. No, there is no disk name loop slash dev slash 0. If you check yellow setup command, I create this loopback device. There is no name slash dev slash loop 0. I created it using the loopback device concept. Okay. We can also create the loopback network, something like that. Okay, Archit, answer my question. Sumit, you are okay? Wait, Sumit, can you please help me related between four primary partitions? Okay, Sumit, there are lots of different between primary and external logical partition. We will discuss. If you now you can do one thing. You practice this. Let I will discuss later. If you want to know about XT, if you check the FTs happen after we have primary partition, physiological partition. Okay, so we will discuss it later. You can check, Shivam, you can check the documentation if you want to create the loopback network device, but it's already created. If you check, if you know about ifconfig command, this is our loopback device for network, means local host. Okay. Sandeep, do one thing just now, practice. We will discuss in brief again. If you face any error, please share the screenshot. I will explain you LVM from very basic to very advanced. Okay, in after some practice time. uh Harvinder, every disk need a partition. If you don't have the partition, you can't store the data directly in that disk. Okay, we always need the partition. Like if I check my C drive, in my disk, my C drive is my partition. If I don't have the partition, you can't store the data. If you check in Windows disk management, okay, in Windows I have disk 0, but I have C partition in that disk. Then I have EFI partition, then you have recovery partition. Okay, if you don't have the partition, then you can't store the data, and partition should be formatted. Okay, there are lots of type of partition. Please guys, do one thing. If you are formatting the partition, always check the difference between what is the difference between XFS and ext4 or ext3. So interviewer always asks you what is the difference between these two partitions. Okay, so try to remember, try to understand some basic difference, like how much file size we can copy in, if you know about NTFS, or what we can say. Let me check. If you go to the format disk option, if you try to format this, you can't format. If you attach the pen drive, and if you when you are formatting, you can check the partition, from which partition type you need to format this. Okay, so if you are using different partition type, you can't copy the size more than 3 GB, like that. Okay, so we need to first format with, in Windows we use NTFS. It's not about main goal is taking from LVM, is not main goal is taking the backup. Okay, the main goal behind is you can, without unmounting, without downtime, you can increase the, like I want to increase the LSBLK. If you check, I want to increase the my slash partition size. So firstly I want to unmount it. You need to unmount it, but without unmounting, I can now, it's created using the LVM, so I can directly reduce it. If you want to reduce, you can. If you want to increase, you can extend it. Yes, you can take the backup of also. Backup also. If we take the backup of logical volume disk, we have, if you know about, we have snapshot. We can create the snapshot of it. Okay, you can create the backup. If you know about like LVM, we have one more concept of video in Linux. If you know about video, it's virtual disk optimizer.
According to Red Hat documentation, Virtual Data Optimizer,
Okay,
Virtual Data Optimizer,
we have video concept, virtual data optimizer. Okay, you can use this concept to create the video. This is the like, say, lots of guys think this is, they are the same thing, LVM and video, but there are some difference between. We can create the snapshot between video Okay, if you know about RHL 7 or RHL 8, this part is there in RHL 8. Okay, so practice this. If you have anyone have any doubt, you can ask me.
Okay, and then the Docker networking. So the topic what we started yesterday of networking, we go more deep into today's class. So there's a full day agenda. By the meantime, the interview questions and this kind of HR round, something we'll touch. We also help you a little bit touch in resume part. Obviously, resume building, resume time is a big topic altogether, but at least we'll give you some guidelines. Okay, and tell you okay, this is the best way to curate your create your resume. So those who are not aligned with that way, you can quickly do on the real time here. तो ऐसा नहीं करेंगे कि आप करके लिया ना, हम वही बैठेंगे कि ऐसा है सामने खुला हुआ है, आप अपना आधा घंटा लो और बैठ के बनाओ. Okay, and show to us and we'll give you again for that touch and help कि इसमें कुछ you change करना करो. Okay, because there's a possibility. Okay, we'll send your resume, everyone resume to this company coming after 3 or 4 days. Okay, so based on the resume they filter you. तो उसमें आपने क्या लिखा है, that's matter और कैसा लिखा है, तो उसमें हमारा कोई शेयर नहीं होगा. हाँ, हम ये कर जरूर होगा हमारी तरफ से कि जितने भी स्टूडेंट्स हैं, जितने स्टूडेंट्स हैं यहाँ पे, उसमें से हम सबको नहीं भेजेंगे. अगर हमें लग रहा कोई डेली अटेंड नहीं कर रहा है या डेली टास्क नहीं कर रहा तो उसको हम नहीं भेजेंगे. तो वो वाला फिल्टर हम करेंगे, मैनेजमेंट करेगा, और बाकी जितने भी लोग कर रहे हैं उनको भेज देंगे. Okay, they will shortlist. A shortlist always be start from the resume. Resume is very critical in that context. Okay, बाकी इसका जो भी आपके राउंड होंगे, मोस्टली हम लोग उन्हीं कंपनीज को लेके आ रहे हैं जो कोर प्रोफाइल दे रही है जॉब की, अच्छा पैकेज दे रहा है, और जिसको ज्यादा कीड़े नहीं है सीजीपीए और बैकलॉग्स के. तो सीजीपीए बिगड़ा हुआ है तो भी चलेगा, वो ज्यादा आपसे वो होता ना एप्टीट्यूड वाली चीजें नहीं पूछेगी और लॉजिकल चीजें नहीं पूछेगी या डीएसए वगैरह नहीं पूछेगी, है ना, कॉम्पिटिटिव प्रोग्राम में. ऐसा हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं, गारंटी नहीं बोल रहा मैं, विल ट्राई. तो दे विल डायरेक्टली जंप टू द कोर टेक्निकल डिस्कशन. फिर जब लिनक्स हो गया, सेल स्क्रिप्टिंग हो गया, डॉकर हो गया, जो भी हम अभी कर रहे हैं, तो हम लोग उसका भी ट्राई कर रहे हैं ताकि जहां जिसके लिए काम करना वो पूछो ना, आपको क्या मतलब डीएसए में ट्री क्या होता है या ग्राफ क्या होता है, काम ही नहीं उसका फिलहाल यहाँ पे डॉकर के अंदर, तो क्यों पढ़ना, ये क्यों जानना. ओके, तो दिस इज द होल आइडिया. तो दैट्स व्हाट वी आर डूइंग गाइस. तो उसके लिए आपको ज्यादा बर्डन नहीं करना है कि सर मैं सीजी पे बिगड़ा हुआ है, वो नहीं है. रेज्यूमे कैसा है वो इंपॉर्टेंट है, उसका आपको ये नॉलेज कैसी है वो इंपॉर्टेंट है, प्रोजेक्ट क्या बनाया वो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है. प्रोजेक्ट इज मोस्ट क्रिटिकल. ओके और मैंने ये देखा है कि प्रोजेक्ट दिखा दे तो जॉब लग जाती है, ये आज तक का दिखा है, क्योंकि अभी हम लोग सर्वे कर रहे थे हर साल हम करते हैं दिसंबर मंथ के अंदर कि लायंस वर्ड के जो भी स्टूडेंट है, हमारे बहुत सारे अलग अलग प्रोग्राम्स होते हैं ओके इस पूरे साल में बहुत सारे रिजल्ट हमने किया है, 1050 बच्चों की जॉब लगाई है लायंस वर्ड से, और मैक्सिमम जॉब लगी है प्रोजेक्ट के नाम से, उन्होंने प्रोजेक्ट दिखाया और जॉब लग गई। डिपेंड करता है किस प्रोफाइल, फुल स्टैक क्या था या डेवऑप्स का था या मशीन लर्निंग का था वगैरह वगैरह तो इट इज सो क्रिटिकल। ओके तो इस रिजल्ट को हम आउट भी करेंगे अभी कल परसों में, बच्चों के नाम, कंपनी के नाम, अच्छी कंपनी भी है, टॉप कंपनीज भी है, अच्छा पैकेजेस भी है, कुछ उसमें से कुछ नाम आप लोग के भी होंगे, आपको भी हेल्प कर रहे हैं ओके तो वो चीज है, तो प्रोजेक्ट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, दैट्स व्हाट आई एम आस्किंग। ओके इस डॉकर प्रोजेक्ट को थोड़ा सा और बेटर बनाते चले जाओ, ठीक है। ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि यू रन द स्क्रिप्ट and they show you press 1 press 2 to launch docker run docker, no, that is a basic thing, just go more deep into it, and how you can go more deep by discussion with each other, so the guys with the offline you have benefit, there's a lot of mind here, right? So you can discuss each other, okay मैंने ये किया तो अच्छा तूने नहीं किया, you can collab and discuss and share to each other, so project will be better and better, okay। आपस में कंपटीशन मत करना कि मैं क्यों बताऊं मेरा, it is not nothing like this, okay, it means you have not good values, and if you understand the universe and the laws of universe or the god and divine, if you don't have the right values you will never grow, that for sure okay so let's continue with the next part of the dogger. So yeah, so in the last class guys we have created a docker file to create the docker images to docker images okay but it is very common guys, okay, in the world we have a lot of tools and technologies. For example, last class we created a custom image for Flask. Flask is one of the library. If you go to Ruby, we have Ruby on Rail. If you go to Java, we have Spring Boot. If you go to Python, again they have Django. Then we have databases. We have a lot of AI tools, LLM tools, machine learning tools like Keras, TensorFlow. Okay, we have a lot of tools in DevOps like Jenkins, like Kubernetes. Okay, so there are a lot of tools and technology in the market, and project to project, different tools gonna use. Okay, so but in one company, one team, they use lots of projects, a lot of tools, I can say. So not every image you have to create from the scratch. Okay, for example, हमने जब कल Flask का बनाया था, हमें बनाया था because of learning. But Flask की image already available है market. Somebody already have created one Flask image. Okay, means they use some base image, Linux, they put install Python, on the top of the install Flask library, create a custom image and share to everyone publicly. Okay, so if you go to this site, hub.docker.com, okay, almost whatever tools and technology you know, you can find a pre-created custom images. And most of the custom images, you can see here content management systems, data science, databases, languages, integrations, IoT, machine learning, monitoring, networking. They have the image available. Okay, so you don't have to create the image from the sketch, download from here and use. Something you might have to do, some small change. Again, there you can use Docker file again to create something or customize something, but you have everything pre-created. For example, let's say you're looking for an image where you want to install the database. Okay, so one way is what you can do, you can get Docker file. In the Docker file, you can use base image. Base image, let's say this is called Linux or Red Hat or something like this. On the top of this, you install database software. Then on the top of this, you install and configure database. You can do so. For this, you should know what is database, how to configure, how to use, how to install. Then you get Docker file. then build the Docker file, the image will create it. Okay, but having the container that pre-set database is very common. So a lot of guys, what they have done, they have given a pre-created database images here. So we click on databases. Okay, they have given a pre-created database images. In the world, we have a lot of databases. We have Memcached, we have Redis, we have Postgres, MongoDB, MySQL, MariaDB, many InfluxDB, Elasticsearch. company, project, they use different databases. But whichever you want, you will find the image. So Docker is so vast, used by everyone. Now Docker is a kind of standard for every company in the world. Okay, so almost any technology images you looking for, that we have pre-set up database, pre-configured servers, pre-configured security, they give you. And good thing is they are provided by the core companies. For example, if you go to MongoDB, it's official image. MySQL database, official image. It means if you configure, the chance you might miss something. There might be some bug left. But the company who create MySQL, they create their own image, so they will create the best one, best software, best. Okay, so this image could be more genuine. So you can see 1 billion download. Okay, so you can also create a MySQL image, but they are provided by the MySQL company. We can actually use it. And how to use? Pull command. Pull command. So what I can do? I can go to my VM as a Docker. I want to pull the image for MySQL. That's all. So what does this image have? This image is a base OS plus MySQL is a database. They will give you pre-installed databases. Then they configure databases, and they also configure database in such a way that when you launch a container from this image, the database always start. Means they set up pre-created entry points also. Even though if you want to check, you can see the history of this command. Docker history, MySQL. Okay, so this is the history. You can see the guy who created this image has used a lot of run commands. Yeah, run command. Okay, plus they also use entry point. They also use CMD. Now, why they're using the not important, but what I'm trying to tell you that they use same keywords, right? इसका मतलब ये हुआ when you create when you launch a container from this image, they run this program automatically. And how they create the program? Using a shell script. So most of the time, guys, they create a program using shell script. And when this program runs, the guy who created this program, they say, I'm the shell script program, but my script need argument. So we are passing the command also. And what this argument is doing, I don't know. At least we know when we launch a container from this image, they will start the database. It means this program is actually starting the database behind the scene. That's the idea. Okay. So even the case is they copy this file. So almost what we did already, this is what almost they are doing also. But this image is pre-created. You don't have to create. Only thing what you have to do, you have to just start it. So Docker run IT MySQL image. Okay. But when I run this image, you know what happened? As a container, okay, this here they're starting and they finally they fail actually. See here they fail, the error. Okay. So some image that you download from the internet, if you run, they work fantastically fine. There is no challenge. You can actually run, they work. Okay. But some image, for example, MySQL, if you run, it failed. It failed. And mostly the guy who created this image, they mostly give the message on the screen. This is called console log. Okay, why they failed? They say I failed because of this reason. The reason is your MySQL is database, and if you guys know a little bit about the database, in the database we always have the account. This is called admin account, and the MySQL the admin account name is called root. So these guys say I configure everything for you, But one thing that I don't know is the password. Because your database, I don't know what password you want to set. You want to set? Okay. So because I don't know what password you want to set, that is the reason I failed. So means you have to specify the password. And how to spell password? So everyone has different requirement. There's one of the way to specify password is the guy who created this image. They say you can put the password in the command line as an argument. This is one of the way to get the password or to give the password. Okay, but here they say if you want to give the password, you have to use the environmental variable. Okay, so what I mean by this, let me explain you again one more time. Okay, so the guy who created this image, I don't know who created it, technically the company created the image, MySQL image. Okay, and from this image, when you launch a container, and you guys know when you launch a container, one program automatically run. In this case, this program is a MySQL services. MySQL database services means they start database for you. That's what this container when the container run, they will run this program. Okay, but when you launch a MySQL database service, they say, okay, I will not work till the time you give me the password, because you are the one who running me. So I don't know what password you want to set. Okay, and why to set the password? Because in the MySQL in the future, who going to use the database? You have to log in. Then you can put the data or you can access the data. Okay, so you have to set the password. So point is, from this image, when you launch a container, okay, container only run when you set the password while running the container. That is a message coming here. You specify the password. इसका मतलब आपको कोई input देना है. While launching the container, you have to give the input. And how to give the input? There's a lot of way to give the input. One of the way that I taught to you yesterday with CMD keyword, command line. I give the input in the app. Welcome to Linux World, welcome to Vimal. This is one of the way to get input. Okay, but that image we created. So we decide we take the input from CMD. But the guy who created this image, they say we won't take the input from CMD of a password. Okay, what we want, if you want to give the input as the password, then you have to use the environmental variable. तो जिसने इमेज बनाई है वो डिसाइड करेगा उसको इनपुट कैसा लेना है आप लोगों से जो कंटेनर को लॉन्च करेगा. तो जिसने इमेज बनाई उसने बोला है कि इस इमेज से जब कंटेनर लॉन्च होगा मुझे इनपुट नहीं दोगे, पासवर्ड नहीं दोगे तो फेल कर दूंगा. ओके, पर इनपुट कैसे दोगे मैं डिसाइड करूंगा कि मैंने बनाया. और मैं इनपुट कैसे लूंगा? Environmental variable से लूंगा. And now what is environmental variable? Let me first teach you what is environmental variable. So this cell, guys, in the cell when you get any variable, this variable is known as environmental variable. That's all that you know already. Okay, so these guys say, okay, that the guy who created me has said that if you want to give the information, let's say 5 is information, then this information you have to give to some variable, and this variable is called environmental variable. But here guys, आप कुछ भी variable लगा नहीं सकते XYZ. इसने खुद ने नाम बताया है, उसका नाम क्या होना चाहिए? ये होना चाहिए. So if you give the password as a value to this variable, then only I'll take the password. Then only I will run, otherwise I'll fail. किसने बोला? जिसने इमेज बनाई है. तो मैं पासवर्ड लेता हूं सिर्फ इसी वेरिएबल के थ्रू. ओके, पर ये वेरिएबल कहां होना चाहिए? दिस वेरिएबल शुड बी इनसाइड द कंटेनर. Now challenge is okay, when you from the image when you launch the container, then container run. After container we can set the variable, right? पहले तो कंटेनर लॉन्च ही नहीं हो रहा है ना. मैं कंटेनर को लॉन्च कर रहा हूं इस इमेज से, कंटेनर लॉन्च कर रहा हूं, कंटेनर फेल हो रहा है. और कंटेनर फेल होगा तो कंटेनर रन नहीं होगा, और कंटेनर रन नहीं होगा तो मैं वेरिएबल सेट करूंगा कैसे? Understand dependency? Okay, they say I need this variable with the value, then I'll work. But I say, if you want to set this variable, I know how to set. I'll set in this way. I will set from the command line of the container. First, let the container launch, but they're not launching. Okay? So under this situation, container launch होगा तो variable set करोगे. भाई बोलेगा जब तक variable set नहीं करोगे मैं container launch नहीं होने दूंगा. It more like a chicken egg problem. It's something like this. Okay? So for this situation, Docker has given you way. Given you way. What? They say, if you want, okay, while launching the container, if you want any environmental variable to be set, then at the run command, you can pass the option to E and give a variable name and the value. That's all. So what will happen? As soon as the container launch from this image, same point in time, this variable will be set inside this container. Okay, so first we always set the variable. Then any other program running in this image, mostly the entry point program, if they need the variable, because they find the variable with the value, they will run. Okay? But इस पूरे केस में आपको वेरिएबल का नाम कुछ भी नहीं देना है. ओके? जिसने भी ये MySQL में बनाई है उसको कौन सा वेरिएबल चाहिए आपको वही नाम देना है. वो नाम आपको यहाँ मिल रहा है. So let me give this name and the value would be anything. Let me give the password as a Red Hat. Okay? So in the simple, I just want to explain the concept, what is happening behind this, but finally technically you have to do this. And what this will do, they will launch a new container with some name. If you want to give the name, let me give the name of the container. Let's say name would be DB database, this container name. Okay, so when you run a new container with this name from this image, first thing they set is environmental variable. It is more like a shell variable with this name and this value. Value you can give anything because this is your password. For variable name you can't set anything. You will set only one what they are looking for. वो कैसे पता पड़ेगा? Mostly वो error में दे देते हैं. आपको error में ना दिया जाए तो जिसने भी इमेज बनाई है, who grade the document? In the document they always write that if you use the MySQL image is a database, and if you want to use the database, then you have to provide the MO variable. And name is this one and this is mandatory. If it does not provide, that will fail. So mostly in the document you will find this. The guy who created this image, they give the document. Plus they give more variables also. They are optional. If you want to use, it is your choice. For example, if you know MySQL database, they create root account already. Password we are setting. But mostly in the database, it's good practice. We don't log in with root account. We always log in with general account. So you want to create general account, this is the environment variable you can use. So what I can do here, I can give more environment variable. Let's say MySQL user, let's say Vimal. Okay, so it is written here. अगर आपको कोई अलग से बनाना है user, नया user, automatically give this user variable, give this variable for the password of that user. So let me give one more variable, MySQL underscore password or whatever they have, password. Because let's say Red Hat again. And if you guys know about databases, in the databases, guys, we store data in a table. And table we always create into database. So बिना database के table बनता नहीं. So database you can think is more like a folder. So अगर if you want to create a database also, this is a variable you have. So this will create a database automatically. So MySQL database. Let's say LinuxWare database. That's all. And because MySQL program, when you guys know when you run the program is keep on running. Any program keep on running is good practice to run in the daemonize mode or details mode. That's all done. And now you see, guys, everything is completely automated. Your database run is not failed with this name. And they run in the background from this image. It's not failed, it's running. It means whatever setup we have done is working fine. Is working fine. Okay, so this is DB container is running with the database server named MySQL. But guys, if I ask you that you have to set up database in the container, think a lot of things you do for use base image, install MySQL, then do many things, other thing, create a Docker file, create a custom image. But here we have pre-created images. Only thing is, if this image needs some input, then you have to give the input. Depend how they take the input. Some may take the input from CMD, command line, the way we did yesterday. But mostly images take the input from the environment variable, most 99%. So in that case, you can use E option. And the environment variable name, you obviously does not know. In the document they give. Okay, so from there you can get the information and give the information. So in our case, I am running with the container with this name. Every container having the IP address. You can run the inspect command to know the IP address of this container. Okay, so my IP is 2 here. So I can say IP2 is the one where my database is running. And you guys know this is a database server. Server. Okay, so if you want to connect to the database, this is called database server that is running inside the container. Okay, to connect database server, mostly we use client. Client is the one who connect to the server. Okay, and why I'm connecting just to test everything working or not. Okay, and for the client, okay, we have one command called MySQL. So MySQL is one command guys available in Linux that work like a client. Okay, so what I'm doing here, so this is a base system guys. In this system I don't have a MySQL command. Let me install this command. I think with this command we need a software called MySQL. Okay, so I'm installing this software. Okay, oh MySQL start 1 minute. No, actually guys, yum command is not working here. Why? Because those who know Linux, they might know, okay, if you use yum command, yum have to configure. In my case, yum is not completely configured because we have given you pre-installed VMs with limited setup. So in my case, my yum is not working. Command is right. Yum is a command who install the Linux, who install the software. But in my case, yum is not there. So I can do much. One of the things we can do is I can go to internet, download software manually, install it. That is one of the things you can do. Other way to quick test is what I can do here is, okay, this container, okay, is running with MySQL. This container also give me MySQL command. Okay, so I can use the MySQL command from this container. And how to go inside this container? Any running container can go in. फिर बोल रहा हूँ running container है उसके अंदर जाना है तो execute command. So I can use docker execute command it terminal give the terminal of this container. And for getting the terminal, what you can do? Dash. Okay, but one more thing I want to tell you guys. I told you in the first day, any container that is running in the background, then you stop then start, and if you want to go inside, then you use attach command, right? Attach command. But attach command guys won't work here. Attach command won't work here. Okay, any container that has an entry point, attach command won't work there. Okay, initial day when I launch a container, then stop, then I start, then I use attach command to go in. Why? Because that container does not have an entry point. So any container does who have the entry point, created by the entry point, attach command won't work there. Okay, so the one important point to note. So here this will won't work. Okay, so only way to go inside is execute, docker execute. So docker ps is working. I can say docker execute it db, and if I want to get a shell, I can use bash. Okay, so this is the content that I launched from this command. Okay, and while launching, what I did, I set the environmental variable, And guys, if you want to check the environment variable of any OS that's set by you or by automatically, we have env keyword. It's a Linux shell command. This will prove you that these variable has been set. और चूंकि वेब सेट था इसीलिए मेरा डेटाबेस चल रहा है, और चूंकि डेटाबेस चल रहा है इसलिए कंटेनर चल रहा है. Okay, this is one proof we have. Otherwise, this database server also come up with the command called MySQL. MySQL is a client command. I can log in to database with a user called root, or let's say Vimal, that I created with the password. Okay, and password I set is Red Hat. It's connected. Welcome to database. It means my database is working, my username is set, my password is set. It's a proof. Okay, now onward, this is not your duty to use the database. Now this is the database for the database guys. This content you launch for the database guys, now they use it, how they want to use. तो आपका काम यहाँ तक का था. इसके बाद का काम कौन करेगा? डेटाबेस वाले काम करेंगे, या फुल स्टैक वाले करेंगे, या प्रोग्रामर करेंगे, उसको जैसे भी यूज करना है. फिर भी एक क्विक कमांड बताता हूँ, आपको पता भी होगी शायद. एक शो डेटाबेस कमांड होती है डेटाबेसेस के अंदर टू सी हाउ मेनी डेटाबेस वी हैव. इज एसक्यूएल कमांड. You can see this database created automatically. Because I write in my command line, as soon as container launch, I want one database automatically created. Otherwise, you can, if you know the command create database, you can also create by yourself. But here, as soon as the container launch, my database automatically created. That's what also the proof. Okay, so this is working fine. I can come out from the database. I can come out from a container and thing is working nice and perfect. This is how it works. Now let me add one more point here. This is again very important point, what we are discussing at this point in time. Okay, so the point is, before this point, because this point will have, guys, 1 minute please, just give me 1 minute. 1 minute please. Hello. Yeah. So because next topic in the in the what I say, Docker is very important. We are going to set up some real project in the Docker. This is called multi-tier app. We'll discuss in some time. Before this, I want to tell you one more small thing. In the Flask, what we created in last class. Okay. In the last class, we created this Docker file. Okay, this Docker file is running your Flask app. Flask app. Okay, so one thing I want to tell you about the Flask is Flask is in the Flask, any app that you want to run, there's two ways. One way is you can use Python command. There's one more way. What I mean by this, let me show you. So this image we already created, guys, in my last class with the name, I think, LW Web4. Okay, so let me launch this container for a minute. Docker run IT, or you DIT in the background, LW Web version 4. Okay, so I am running this container. Let me give the name, let's say Flask 1. So this container launch. Okay, and now if I want to go inside this container, let's say Docker execute. Can you take me inside this container name F1 and give me shell? Okay, and you can see this is a program, and this program automatically run. That will launch the Flask app. To run the Flask app, there's two ways. One way is to launch the Flask app is using this command. Okay, this is one of the way. Okay, but there is one more way, guys, to launch the Flask app. Okay, Flask has their own command. Okay, the name of the command is called Flask run. Flask run. तो जिस भी फोल्डर में आपके Flask की ऐप है उसी फोल्डर में जाके अगर कमांड को रन करोगे तो ये ऐप अपने आप लोड हो जाएगी, अपने लोड हो जाएगी. Okay, this is also one of the way to start the Flask app. Okay, so technically what I'm trying to tell you, if you want to run the Flask app because it's in Python, this is one of the way to run. Otherwise, mostly we don't run the Flask app with Python 3 command. Flask has the own command. We run from their command. Okay, so this is small information. It's not so much very important for the Docker guys, but why I'm discussing this information to you? Because when you run the Flask run command, there's a one requirement. Requirement is this command should be run from this folder where your app is located. This is one requirement. And because if you run this command from other folder, it won't work. And that is one of the reasons why we set the working directory. You know, Dockerfile, we use the work directory keyword, right? So why we use the working directory? It means in the future, if you run some other command also, the command will always run inside this folder. That's also one of the reasons. And second thing is, this command say, okay, when you run me, I will automatically find your app name. Because there's possibility you might have many programs here. Okay, for example, maybe there's one file called f1.py, maybe more file called, let's say, a.py. Because normally in the project, multiple files we have. So when in the Flask run command, how they come to know which file is your main app, which one to run. So in the Flask it is written, okay, whenever you run me, okay, I am looking for a file name called app.py. तो अगर आप Flask run command रन करते हैं तो एक रिक्विजिट है, दो को रिक्वायरमेंट है. एक रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है, आपको इस कमांड को उसी फोल्डर पर रन करना है जहां आपकी ऐप पड़ी है. सेकंड, आपका ऐप का नाम यही होना चाहिए, यही होना चाहिए. इसका मतलब ये हुआ जो डेवलपर कोड बना के देगा, उस कोड में अगर फाइल का नाम ये नहीं हुआ तो आपको उसको रीनेम करना पड़ेगा. जब मेरे केस में नहीं है, इसलिए फेल हो गया. ओके, तो क्या करना पड़ेगा, पहले मुझे इसको रीनेम करना पड़ेगा, फिर रन कर सकता हूं. हो सकता है रीनेम करना कुछ चीज को कॉन्फ़िगर कर दे, करप्ट कर दे. इसीलिए फ्लास्क ने तरीका और दिया है. क्या तरीका दिया है, अगर आपका ऐप का नाम ये नहीं है, हो सकता है तो आपकी फ्लास्क की ऐप तभी रन होगी जब मुझे बताओगे कि आपके ऐप का नाम क्या है. और बताने के लिए भी आपको एक एनवायरनमेंट वेरिएबल सेट करना पड़ेगा. So in this case, you have to set this environmental variable with this name and give me the value of your app. Okay. Now if you run me, I always contact to this variable, ask, tell me the name. अब मुझे नेम बता देगा तो मैं रन कर लूंगा. अभी रन नहीं हुआ तो अभी फेल हो गया. अभी इसको ढूंढ रहा है app.py को, app.py है नहीं यहाँ पे. ओके, क्यों? क्योंकि whenever you create any variable, guys, these variables you create in the shell are known as local variables. Means only this shell can use the value of this guy. But if you want, any other program can access this value. In this case, Flask is using this. Then you have to export this value, share this value to other program. And for this is the shell. This is shell keyword called export. Export means इसकी जो वैल्यू है अब वो शेल के अलावा, शेल तो यूज कर पा रहा था, शेल के अलावा बाकी प्रोग्राम भी यूज कर सकते हैं. We are making this value global. Okay, and any variable where you give the value global with export keyword are technically known as environmental variable. They are actually known as environmental variable. Now if you run the Flask run command, now this time you can see it is running. They find out your program names here and they run for it. Technically it's failed actually because my Flask app is already running in this container. So do two app you can't run with the same port number. But technically the things that I am trying to show you, it is working. they load this program. And now I'm discussing this point to you. This reason. The reason is, if you want to create a container from this image, and your requirement is to run the Flask app, not from this command, not from this command. So which command you want to use? You don't want to use this command. Let me comment this line. Comment. I want to use some other command. So my entry point would be, entry point is a case sensitive here, would be Flask run. This is the requirement. And because this is the requirement you have, but challenge is, for Flask to run, there's two requirements. This command should be run only in the folder where the app is located. So this part we done already with working directory. Working directory will take you there only, where you have the app. So ये tension नहीं है. Second tension क्या Flask run में? This say I only need file called app.py, but here file name is what? So the two choices. First choice is either you copy file with app.py, then it work. But let's say you can't do so. Maybe you have some XYZ requirement. Okay. So in this case, what you can do here, you can set the environment variable directly here. Okay. With what the value would be Flask underscore app equals to vimal.py. Okay. तो मैं बोलना चाहता हूं आपको, आप जब कंटेनर को लॉन्च करते हो इमेज से, आप डॉकर रन कमांड में भी ऑप्शन दे सकते हो हैव एन ई. ओके, एक तरह का ये है. तो आपको लगता है कि कोई इन्वायरमेंट हमेशा सेट करना ही करना है, तो हर बार आपको कमांड लाइन में लिखने की रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है. आप उसको डॉकर फाइल में लगा के इमेज के अंदर भी हार्ड कोड कर सकते हो. So there is two way to give the environmental variable in the container when you launch the container from the image. Are you hard code in the image in the Docker file, or while running the container with Docker run, there also you can give with Docker run have an E option that I show you with the MySQL option, MySQL example. Okay, so this is a whole idea, right? So, and here we don't use CMD because entry point we are not using, so CMD has no meaning here. Okay, so there's one more example I want to give you here. One small change, guys, I'm doing in my app. For this app, I write a code that I need argument. Here I'm not getting any argument, so I'm just changing something in my code just to show you this demo. This is the app code. So with this variable I'm setting LW, so they will take LW always. Okay, so I'm just doing some small change here. Okay, and one more thing, guys, it is not again for the Docker guys. Any app that you run in the Flask, there's a requirement that your app will run only if when you run this code from the main function. Okay, so those who know Python, they might know this syntax main. But don't worry, guys, you don't have to do this. Your developer will do for you, but I'm doing it just to keep doing. So the requirement from the Flask app. Okay, that's all. Let me run my Docker file again. Docker build. I gotta change something. Docker build. New mail as Linux World Web v5 version, new name, and with a folder name. My airport. Is build, right? That's all. Dear, created. And now new image created. Docker images, new image created. And now if you see the history of this image, v5, you can see my entry point is Flask run command. But challenge is I copy with this name. Flask does not understand this name. That is the reason I set the import variable. But understand one thing, guys. यहाँ पे जो value तो आपको पता है, जो variable का नाम होगा कुछ भी नहीं होगा randomly. फ्लास्क से पूछना पड़ेगा तुम कौन से वेरिएबल को लेते हो, तुम्हारे लिए कौन सा वेरिएबल का नाम यूज करते हो. तो go to Flask document, then tell you, or your Flask guy will tell you, hey, I am a Flask guy, I am a developer, हमारा जो वेरिएबल का नाम ये है, तो वो बताएगा आपको, आपको वही यूज करना है. तो समझो इस बात को, आपको जानना सब कुछ नहीं है. आई एम ट्राइंग टू टेल यू कि आपको कैसे कोऑर्डिनेशन करना है दूसरी टीम से. तो मैं तो डेवलपर हूं, मैं तो डॉकर का बंदा हूं, मुझे समझ आता फ्लास्क. तो फ्लास्क पर बताएगा कि कौन सा वेरिएबल वो यूज करता है, और वो काम आपका है उसको सेट करना है. सेट आप करोगे लेकिन नाम वो बताएगा. सेट आप करोगे वैल्यू वो बताएगा. कमांड वो बताएगा उसको कौन सा रन करना है. ऐप वो देगा आपको और कॉपी आप करोगे. ओके, सो दिस हाउ वी वर्क विद द टीम. Okay, so let me launch the Docker again, maybe in the DIT background, relation in, let's say, app 1 from LW web v5. So this app run perfectly fine. I don't know the IP of this guy. So I can say Docker inspect, can you tell me the IP address of this guy? 4. Okay. 4 is IP. So I can open my browser. And one more thing, guys, either you can use the browser from the graphical Firefox. Okay, but we have some kind of command line browser also. One of the famous browser in the command line is curl command. So if you know the URL, type the URL directly here. 4. And this 4 is the IP of my container. A Flask run on the port of 5000 by default. And my entry point is info. Connection refused. Why so? It should not be 4, right? It should work. Let me check the connectivity. Connection is there. Port number is 5000 or what? Okay, so one more thing. When you launch any Flask app, they will throw a message on the screen. That's called console log. But because I launched the content in the background, so I can't able to see the message. Okay, container hide those messages. Okay, but if you want to see the messages, what a container throw in the console, your logs command. Against log, can you please go to this container and what a message they are throwing on the screen, because different OS, right? I'm a different OS, this is a different OS. In this OS, what a message they are throwing on the screen, this is a console log. Can you show me? Here, this one. So they show me the message from this A1 container. And what you found here? You found here, you container running on the local IP, right? That is you want able to connect from outside world. Okay, so I'm the outside. Any app that running in the local, you won't connect from outside world. Okay, so you do something on the again the Flask code to make it done. Or maybe one more thing we can do, we can go to execute, go inside locally and check execute IT bash, and run the curl command here if they have it, and type this this URL with the info here, output coming, right? Okay, so there's multiple ways. I'm just testing if thing is working or not. Okay, so my point is, guys, mostly whenever you create any app, okay, mostly you have to set the environment variable hard coded. If you create your own image, but if you're using the image from outside world, they say we have given everything to you, something I don't know what you want to set. For example, I don't know what password you want to set. तो इसको हार्ड कोड नहीं कर सकता ना, ये बोल रहे जिसने बनाई है. So getting your value as an input, I am giving you some variable names. This को environment variable. Okay, so by launching the content from the image that we created, someone else created, you can pass the value. So in that context, guys, environment variable has a huge requirement. Okay, तो मैं दो एग्जाम्पल बता आपको environment variable के. अगर आपकी इमेज है तो आप कैसे सेट करोगे? हार्ड कोडेड वैल्यू इन द कस्टम इमेज. और अगर किसी और की इमेज यूज कर रहे हो तो उसमें वैल्यू पास कैसे करोगे? इमेज से कंटेंट जब लॉन्च करते हो तो आप ई ऑप्शन docker run -e option. That's what I wanted to tell you. But you should understand the scenario. When to use what. खुद की बनाओगे इमेज, कस्टम इमेज, तो डॉकर फाइल में लगाओगे env कीवर्ड. एग्जाम फ्लाश रन का जो एग्जाम्पल बताया कर. अगर किसी और की बनी हुई इमेज यूज करोगे तो उसमें डॉकर फाइल की बात कहीं आती नहीं. आप तो उस इमेज से कंटेंट लॉन्च करोगे. और अगर उसने बोला है कि नहीं मेरे को तो बिना वैल्यू में काम नहीं करूंगा, तो वैल्यू पास कैसे करोगे? उसकी बहुत से तरीके हो सकते हैं. मोस्टली हम यूज करते हैं एनवायरनमेंट वेरिएबल. वो ये कौन डिसाइड करेगा? आप नहीं करोगे. जिसने बनाई वो डिसाइड करेगा कि उसको कैसे लेनी है, तो उसको इस तरह से लेनी थी. Okay, so that is a whole idea. So this is guys one very important topic. It's very useful. We use this concept a lot. Okay, so that's it. Any query till now? Anyone offline, online in this topic? Any queries? नीचे मैम बोल रही थी, इनको बोलना है, बुलाना होगा मैम को. Okay, so practice this point quickly. I suggest guys launch MySQL database. Okay, this is the practice you do right now. It's a very important topic because my next topic will depend on this topic. Okay, so quickly go and launch the MySQL. At this practice you should do. The command you know already. 1 minute. So this is the command you can use. I did practice this, or you want to practice the Flask example also. If you want, then practice this part also. But for this example, I do some small change in my app, and change what I done in my app is just I make the hard-coded value. Okay. Otherwise, to do many things, the Flask to do take the argument in this command. Okay. So practice this. And same thing. Quiz के लिए कुछ question बने ज़्यादा? Okay. So we'll don't do quiz right now. We don't have so much, I think, or maybe after the class we'll do. After break we'll do. Okay. Practice this. Okay. And then PT ma'am has some, I think, some announcement. Then lunch break. After lunch break we'll continue with this topic, and we'll set up one interesting project in the Docker. Okay. And what you're doing till now, again put in your shell scripts. Again I repeating guys, आपका जो प्रोजेक्ट है सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है कि सेल्फ स्क्रिप्टिंग से आप पूरा काम कैसे ऑटोमेट कर रहे हो डॉकर का. तो पहले प्रैक्टिस कर लो. फिर क्या होगा, एग्जांपल ये करना है आपको, तो आपकी सेल्स बोलेगी व्हाट इमेज यू वांट टू लॉन्च. आई से MySQL, एंटर. देन दे गिव द ऑप्शन व्हिच वैल्यू वेरिएबल यू वांट टू सेट. You will say this one with this value, this one with this value. Or maybe this script will ask you, does MySQL need these variables? Okay, so tell me the value. तो आपको कमांड खुद को लिखनी नहीं पड़ेगी, अपने आप कौन रन करेगा? स्क्रिप्टिंग रन करेगा. तो दिस काइंड ऑफ स्मॉल स्मॉल थिंग्स यू कैन ऐड इन द स्क्रिप्टिंग पार्ट. ठीक है, आप कुछ पूछ रहे थे, आप कर सकते हैं बिल्कुल. अगर आप चाहो तो जैसे MySQL इमेज है ना, किसी और की बनी हुई है, दिस विल बेस इमेज फॉर यू. तो ओपन द डॉकर फाइल फ्रॉम MySQL एंड आपको जो भी करना कर सकते हो. तो क्या सकते ये भी कर सकते हो. रीड कर नहीं कर सकते लेकिन ओवरराइट कर सकते हैं. जब आप अगर वहां पे CMD ऑलरेडी लिखा हुआ है तो एक को CMD लगा दो तो वो ओवरराइट हो जाएगा. एक ही बात. रीड नहीं कर सकते, क्यों बताऊंगा मैं. तो हम जब जाएंगे डॉकर फाइल के मोर डिटेल में इमेजेस के, तो कौन सा लेयर्स का कॉन्सेप्ट होगा उसमें. तो वी कैन रिमूव बट वी कैन ऐड ऑन द टॉप ऑफ दिस सो दे ओवरराइट. तो आप जो चाहते हो जाएगा वैसे. ओके, एग्जांपल वहां पे एंट्री पॉइंट ऑलरेडी सेट है, आपको कुछ और बनाना है, एक को लगा दो एंट्री पॉइंट. ठीक है, नया डॉकर फाइल बना के, तो वो ओवरराइट हो जाएगा. ठीक है. हाँ, वो तो एक नई चीज बन गया, फिर नया बनाना हो गया, वो तो नया बनाना हो गया। एग्जाम्पल ये भी कर सकते हो कि उस इमेज का जो कोड जिससे बना है ना उसमें जाके चेंज कर दो, ये भी कर सकते हो, वो तो इमेज का बंडल, पर वो इट इज मोर लाइक क्रिएटिंग न्यू इमेज। तो जैसे इमेज बनी है ना, उसके पीछे पूरा एक वो है, स्टोरेज है, जो बंडल बोलते हैं। तो बंडल को आप नॉर्मल फाइल ले आओ, फाइल सिस्टम में, ये तरीके आते हैं मार्केट में फाइल स्ट्रक्चर में, उसमें आप चेंज कर दो, फिर अगेन उसको कंपाइल कर दो। एक तरह का ये भी होता है, पर लॉन्ग प्रोसेस है, ठीक है। इट इज मोर लाइक क्रिएटिंग द न्यू इमेज फ्रॉम द स्टार्ट, वो ऐसा हो जाएगा कुछ। नहीं वो तो नहीं, ये अलग बोल रही है, इमेज में कुछ चेंज करना हो बने हुए, तो यम कमांड में तो सॉफ्टवेयर में पर्ज कर सकते हैं ना, एंट्री पॉइंट से पर्ज हो जाएगा। हाँ कर सकते हैं, हाँ सॉफ्टवेयर रिमूव करना अलग हो गया, वो तो ओएस लेवल पे होगा, ओके, जो यम कमांड से हम करेंगे। पर यम कमांड आपके एंट्री पॉइंट को चेंज नहीं कर सकते ना, ना ENV को चेंज कर सकती है, तो डॉकर किसी कीवर्ड को चेंज नहीं कर सकती, ठीक है। तो क्वेश्चन ये है कि हम क्या बनी इमेज में कुछ चेंज कर सकते हैं, ओके, चेंज नहीं कर सकते, ओवरराइट कर सकते हैं। हाँ वो भी उसके ऊपर होगा चेंज। ओके, अगर आपको किसी को पता है गिट कैसा काम करता है, तो गिट में अलग लेयर्स बनती है, ओके, तो जो एक बन गई वो चेंज नहीं हो सकती, उसके ऊपर हम ओवरराइट करते हैं, ओके। तो लगता है उड़ गया, पर उड़ा नहीं, उस लेयर ने दिखा उड़ा, पर नीचे भी है। तो ऐसे लेयर्स बनती है ना उसमें, अगर पता है गिट किसको डिटेल में कैसे गिट काम करता है, सेम कॉन्सेप्ट यहाँ पे। तो बन गए वो इम्यूटेबल हो गई, अब चेंज नहीं हो सकती, उसके ऊपर नया बना के लेयर यू कैन चेंज। तो क्या लगेगा चेंज हो गई, पर अभी भी नीचे है, पर ठीक है लगेगा चेंज हो गई। तो वो होता है नॉर्मली, या जो एक तरह का ये बोल रहे थे बंडल बना, बंडल में कन्वर्ट करके फिर अगर सब कुछ पेपर आ गया, फिर जो चेंज करना करो, फिर वापस कंपाइल कर दो, तो दूसरा तरीका वो होता है, ठीक है। एनीवन एल्स? A curl is a command line tool. If you want to access any website, they once, okay, from the command line, you can use curl and give the URL. They will access in the command line. No, Ranjan, database is not storage services. They are databases. They use storage behind the scene to store the data. Okay, but but they are just databases to manage the database in the database. इस प्री-बिल्ड इमेज के का कोड देख सकते हैं सात्विक, अगेन हिस्ट्री कमांड, or there will be many more way. We can create a tar file, we'll discuss how to create tar, then we can again open see it. One is bundle, we can recreate the bundle, that's also one of the way to check. Okay, anti-point just nothing, Prashant, the guy who created the image of MySQL, who created the image of MySQL, okay, in this image, in this image they put one script that's called shell scripting in this OS. So if you go to this OS, you can find this script. It's a pure shell script. So when you run a container from this image, this script automatically run. And in this script, what they write how to start the MySQL. तो MySQL start करने की commands होती है कुछ, उस command को उसने script में लगा रखा है, okay? बस वो किया है, तो इसका कुछ भी नहीं है। तो script का नाम ये है, उसकी इच्छा कुछ और नाम दे सकता था, उसने नाम ये दिया। तो ये बस स्क्रिप्ट है जो शेल स्क्रिप्ट में लिखी हुई है, जैसे ही हमारे इमेज लॉन्च कंटेंट लॉन्च होगी, स्क्रिप्ट अपना रन हो जाएगी। स्क्रिप्ट के अंदर क्या लिखा है उसने देखना है तो देख सकते हो, इस कंटेंट को लॉन्च करो, उस कंटेंट में जाओगे फिर मिल जाएगी स्क्रिप्ट, पढ़ लेना तो फिर दिखेगा शेल स्क्रिप्ट है प्योर, उसमें बस लिखा है MySQL को स्टार्ट करने का कमांड कि डेटाबेस को चालू कैसे करते हैं, ठीक है, बस इतना सा है, वो इस फाइल का यूज है। सो दैट्स ऑल गाइस, प्रैक्टिस करें आप लोग, और उसके बाद ब्रेक करते हैं, देन विल डिस्कस राइट नेक्स्ट पार्ट। प्रीति।
थैंक यू सो मच विपिन सर। कितने लोगों का हो गया नीचे रिकॉर्डिंग? जस्ट रेज योर हैंड।
Like this, so let me explain you. the use case. So guys, if you think it is everything about the app, right? So उसको वॉल्यूम कम कर दो, आदत चेंज हो गई हमारी डेली स्लो सुनने की. Okay, so everything guys about app, right? हम whatever we are doing till date, so we have to run the app. That's what we discussed till date, and that's what we want, right? But when we talk about app, almost every app in today's world is multi-tier app. We never see any app that is not multi-tier. Everyone is multi-tier. What I mean by this? Okay, for example, if you go to one of the app, let's say facebook.com, okay, what you see at this point in time, we as a user or the client, as a client, we see the the view that's called front end. Okay, so this is called front end. There's one point, right? But right now, guys, whatever you see here, for example, in this front end, this page, you see some data is there. Okay, but this data, guys, is not there actually in the front end. Whenever you open this page or app, no, not a web app, this data comes from somewhere. If you see this number, like for example 52, this information come from somewhere. Okay, and those somewhere is called backend. So we can write in this way. We can write in this way. Let's say we are the user or the human being client. Okay, and when you open your browser, what you see in the browser is called front end. Front end. But in the front end, guys, most of the data, whatever you see here, maybe images, logo, the content, address, everything, guys, is come from that's called backend. Something and provide the information to the front end. But behind the scene, guys, when you say backend always run the program, and none of the program mostly store the data. Program never store data. Program use the data, but program never store the data. Why? Because program always run in the memory. Your system shut down, data will be lost. Okay, so program, whenever program need a data, they always go to your storage. That's called hard disk. The hard disk is the one where you store data permanent. Okay, but in the hard disk we don't keep the data directly. We mostly organize the data in the hard disk, and the way we organize the data in the hard disk is called database. So here the role of database come in. So what happened behind the scene? Your program will go to some other program running maybe in other computer. Okay, this is called database program or database server, and say, hey, I need a data. Can you give the data to me? So this database will give the data to this program backend, and backend will give to the front end. And what are visible in the front end, we can see it. So technically, whatever right now you're seeing over here, this information is coming from the backend to the front end. But because of a lot of security reason, okay, we don't have direct access to the backend. So the databases, okay, because database is the main area where every company store their information. So if the company give the access of database to the front end, means to public, because we are the public, so there's some kind of hack might possible. Okay, so the process always would be, we want to see the data in the front end, but my data is there in the database, also known as data layer. Okay, but we don't get data directly. We always request to backend to some language like PHP or Python. Python, and this request is mostly known as API request. Okay, so we send an API request. This is mostly known as API request, not always. Okay, and backend behind the scene go and get the data on your behalf and provide to you. So every site work mostly like this, where where this is a database. Name of the database can be MySQL, for example, and this database running in a different computer. Let's say computer number A. Then backend may be written in PHP or Python or Flask, for example. They're running a different computer number, let's say B. At the front end running a different computer, mostly your client computer in a browser running a C. So whenever you see any app, you always see multiple computers. This computer is meant for database running. This computer meant for running backend program like PHP, Ruby, Java. This program is a Firefox or Chrome browser running a different computer. So we have different programs running for different purpose in different computers. Then this kind of app is known as multi-tier app. So every line is one tier. Database is one tier, backend is one tier, front end is one tier, and everyone work together and become a multi-tier app. Because there are three tiers, so I can also use three-tier app. But if you go more deep into the world of system design, okay, so whenever you will learn and set up the system design of every company, there's a lot of tiers come together, and and the setup will be done. Okay, so there's one point. Yeah, by chance, anyone who are part of the Earth program here? I don't know. Offline, online guys may be there. So we'll normally learn the system design there. Okay, and we set up also like that system that practically. But you might have heard about system design if you know it. Okay, but here this is the example of three tier or three layers, or I can also use the word called multi-tier. So almost every app in the world is multi-tier. Multi-tier app, like Facebook, Netflix, or anyone. Now I am discussing here in the Docker because because this computer what you see here is a computer. So in that case, this computer can be container. One container running with the database. This one container can be running as a for the backend, and this is mostly the browser used by the clients, Chrome browser. Okay, so whenever you want to run the app, okay, your app would be always multi-tier. Now it is your choice in the app if you want to run the database, you want to run the database in the VM virtual machine or in the container. So what I can do, I can launch a container, and in the container I can run MySQL database. And how to run MySQL database, you know. I can launch one more container. Okay, and this is a different container with a different name and different IP address. I use this container with the backend, and one of the way to get the backend is Python Flask. Okay, so two container, every container will have a different IP address. This is IP1, this is IP2, IP2. So what happen? Any client from their browser, let's say Chrome browser, okay, if they go to Flask and say, hey, I need data, Flask say, hey, I don't have a data, I always get the data from my database. So Flask will go on your behalf to MySQL and get the data. But for this, what I want, one have a IP2 connectivity. And I told you multiple times, guys, if you launch two container, Docker will give the network connectivity. So you don't have to worry about the connectivity. Docker will give this connectivity to us. So this connection, we already have it. So it's good thing about Docker. Second, Docker is the one who always give the IP address, so we don't have to worry about the IP address also. Second thing, Docker will also give you container to launch very quickly. Also, we don't have to worry about. And by chance, we have a lot of MySQL image pre-created. So you don't have to create the image again from the sketch. Okay, so we can use the pre-created images what we have already. Okay, so we can use pre-created images also of MySQL. Okay, or we can also use pre-created image of the Flask in the market. Otherwise, you guys know how to create your own custom image also. So everything is available in the world of Docker. One click container launch, one click multiple container launch. They have IP address, they have network connectivity. Okay, and the images what I need to launch this container 1 or container 2 is also available. So technically, if you set up the multi-tier architecture in the world of Docker, is super quick and super fast because everything is mostly available. So right now, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to set up the multi-tier architecture on the top of Docker. And when it's a multi-tier means I want multi-program to run. And this concept is called multi-tier application or multi-tier containers. So multi-container we are launching, guys. So we are setting up multi-container app. That's what we are going to do. Okay. So in this case, what you need to do? Nothing. Only thing that you have to do, okay, that is not again the part of DevOps guys or the Docker guys. Okay, because in the Flask, only thing that you need is app that is created by the developers. So you ask the developer, they will give this app to you. Okay. Second thing, what you need in the MySQL, if you want to store any data, you have to get a table. Okay, you do store data in some organized way. Let's go schema. Okay, then this data always store in the table, also known as schema, and table also always store in the databases. So again, you have to contact your DBA guys, database guys, and say, hey, can you please go to my MySQL, get databases, get table, proper schema, manage the data, store the data. Who will do? Your database guys. Okay, so you have to contact your database guys, and they will do this part for you. So technically, you don't have to do this. Okay, only thing what you have to provide is the infrastructure. What I mean by this, you have to provide the RAM, CPU, you have to provide the containers, you have to provide the images, you have to launch it. That is called infrastructure. Now on the top of the infrastructure, your developer will write a code for you, database guy will manage the database for you, security guys will manage security for you, and so on. Okay, so why I'm saying this? Because you should know the responsibility. Responsibility is one very big key. Because mostly guys in the real world, what I've observed is we start doing something in a company and we stuck. We thought we stuck because we don't know, but we never thought that this is not my responsibility. What we have to do, we have to ask someone else to do this. This is one of the reasons we stuck. तो हमें लगता है मेरा काम है, आपको आता नहीं क्योंकि आपको आता नहीं क्योंकि आपको काम नहीं था, इसलिए प्रोजेक्ट वहीं अटक गया. होना क्या चाहिए था? You to collaborate with. आपको किसी और से जुड़ के उससे काम करवाना था. Okay, so this is also one of the principle of DevOps called agile, not agile, I can say collaboration. लोगों से जुड़ के काम करो. Depend करता किसका क्या रोल है. It's more of a role and the responsibility. If you don't do this, तो system your process becomes slow down. चीजें slow चलेगी, हो नहीं पाएगी. इसको ऐसा मान लीजिए. Okay, so let me do this setup right now. Because we know something about databases, so we'll create this part by ourselves to see the demo. And we know something about that app development, so this part also we do by ourselves. Okay, okay, so at least we can see that everything working fine. The code, if you don't understand, don't worry. If I'm doing something in MySQL, if you don't understand, don't worry about it. I'm doing it just to show you end-to-end flow. Okay. So that's a plan. So it become a one project actually. So technically you can think also, I can give one more term here. I'm setting up the full stack. Because full stack, we have front end, we have back end, we have databases, become full stack. So those who by chance know only full stack, MERN or anything, mean or whatever I have, you can also do the same demo with these tools also, if you know. Okay. So it means there's two things. One is development and one is the infrastructure. Okay, so the DevOps guys mostly working on the infrastructures, and on the top of this infrastructure, my developers, whatever app they create, they run it, they deploy it. One of the kind of developer in the market is full stack guys. They do and create the apps for us. So we have two different kind of team. So one team is the guy who manage and operate the infrastructure. They are known as ops guys. One guy is the developer who developed the thing for us. And mostly both the guys require to have complete thing. You can't miss anything. Okay, but both the things, how can we make it faster? How we can collab easily? How we don't have any silos. Silo means, okay, आप कुछ कर रहे हो डेवलपर हो, मैं infrastructure, मुझे पता हमारे बीच में क्या, हमारे बीच में कोई कोऑर्डिनेशन नहीं है. अगर कोऑर्डिनेशन नहीं है, इसका साइलोज है, पता नहीं कौन क्या कर रहा है, कौन मुझे नहीं पता आप कौन, तो हमें साइलोज को हटाना है. You have to find a process जहां से मुझे मैं डेवलपर से बात कर सकता हूँ, तेरा काम है, तू बता कि फ्लास्क में जो इन्वायरमेंट वेरिएबल था उसका नाम क्या हो, तू बता फ्लास्क कमांड को फ्लास्क रन से रन करना है कि पाइथन 3 से रन करना है, तो मुझे इमेज बनानी है. So this is the coordination you need. So if you have better developer team, so this environment, this psychology, developer and operation team, if they work together, there is no silos, they have proper coordination, so things can be done very quickly and very faster. Okay, then that principle, that environment, that methodology is known as DevOps. Okay, so these are core idea behind DevOps. Okay, but in DevOps, again, we follow other things also. We want automation, we want speed. That's also the part that we follow in the world of DevOps. Okay, so I'm just trying to give you a quick meaning of DevOps. So let me start setting up this part. Okay, if you ask Docker, do you have any command to delete a container? RM command, then the container ID on the name. But do you have any way to delete every container that is running on the stop? No. So there is no command available to delete every container. Okay, so if you have no command, then what you can do? You can get scripts. So the script, what you can do? You can pick the IDs one by cut, put in a loop, and delete one by one. That's all. Okay. Now before you cut the ID, you can ask Docker, do you have a way you can only provide me the ID? So I don't have to cut by myself. So by chance Docker have the option, an option called queue. By this option, they give you all the IDs. So now at least you don't have to cut by yourself. Now this ID you can put in the loop. How? Now this ID I can put in the for loop, for I in. This is the command I put in the backcode. Backcode do. Okay. Then I say Docker rmf forcefully. Because guys, why forcefully? If any content stop, we can remove directly with rm. But if any content running content you can't remove with rm command. You do forcefully. So you have to use F option. And then I say $I. What happened? This command will give you a lot of IDs. First ID go to I, Docker I. They one by one they delete everything. Yeah, fantastic, right? So here the role of script come in play. So if you know the scripts, this is the use of the script. That's all. So what a command you use, technology you use, if that command technology does not have something to give you in automated way, that is only area where we use scripts. Okay, that's the power of script. Otherwise, without script, you can see billions of container is very hard, right, to delete one by yourself. Okay, so that is a core idea. Now you can see everything is clean. It's a clean environment, no container is running. They are deleted a container, not the images. Image still there. But if you want to remove the image, we have a command RMI. RMI. So same way you can remove the whole image also. With the same logic. So that's what we created. So let me do this demo. So my requirement is to first do this setup. In this setup, mostly we will launch database first. Because if you don't have a database, how Flask connect? So I'm going to launch the database. You know the command. Let me do one more time. Docker run DIT. It's good practice always to give the name. I'm giving the name database. Okay. Then I'll give my image name, MySQL. But I have to give the environment variable also. Is MySQL, I believe, root password or something, I believe. You don't have to memorize, you can go and check the document. And equals to, I'm giving password as a Red Hat. Okay. And E, I'm creating one more user called MySQL underscore user. Vimal. Then one more variable we have MySQL password of this user. I'm giving again the same password by chance. Red Hat. And in the database, guys, we always store the data in the table store in database. So this database, if you want to create automatically, if you want, then you can create here. They give the option by chance. It's called MySQL database. I'm giving, let's say, let's say Linux World DB. Okay. So please guys check because I didn't check my document. So check the spelling. Are they are right or not? I believe maybe they're right. So one click, your container launch. Okay, and working fine. Okay, but now after this, you can hand over this container to database guys. Database guys will go and create the tables, store some data, whatever they have already. So now my database guys will go inside this container. Let's say container name is DB. They get the shell. Okay, then they use the MySQL client command and say, hey, I want to log in to this guy, to username Vimal, and password is Red Hat. Now you can give the password directly here also without any space. This also work. You can log in, and now this is the databases command. It's not a Linux command. It's not a Docker command. Okay, so we can see some databases pre-created. This is what we created. Okay, but if you want to create table, you go inside the database. How to go inside? Then use is a command here and give your database name and semicolon. Now you are inside the database. Then we have show commands to check how many tables we have. Nothing, empty. Now to create the table, there's a command called create table. It's a SQL command. Let's say I'm giving a table name called student. Let's say I want to maintain the database of the students of Linux world. So table name, and table I'm going to store the student ID, student name, student city, and so on. Okay, and guys, in the MySQL, they support data types. So let's say this integer, we can give size also. So maximum size of ID is allowed 5 total number. Name is a string, so it's called char or varchar. It's a string. Let's say size will be 200 characters maximum. I am allowing. City again is char or varchar, means string. Let's say I'm giving a 10 as a maximum character allowed. So your table has been created. So what is challenge here? Sorry, this is not dot, it's a comma. So table has been created. Okay, so this is done not by you guys who will do, database guys will do for you. Then inside they will add the data. So right now there's a command guys here called select star from table. That will tell you how many data you have in this table called students. Nothing, empty. But maybe this can be the responsibility of database guys, or sometimes your app guys also, who will fill the data. But right now I'm just filling the data from the command line of database. So this command called insert into, I'm inserting data into the table called student. This is syntax. And what I'm inserting in the first field ID number of the student, name of the student, and here there's they are named, so it's a string, and city, let's say Jaipur. That's all. Sorry, values. Value also keyword will write. Okay, so now we can see data the feed. Let me feed some more data here. I'm doing it manually, but they might use some other way to feed it. Okay, so let's say I'm putting the name Tom, let's say from the city called Mumbai. So 2 data we inserted. That's all. So now understand one thing. What we have done, we launch the container. And what someone has done, they feed the data. Who? Mostly the database administrator. Okay, this can be done. Sometimes the data is not feed by database guys. Your app guys will get the data from the client and they feed. Okay, that's also mostly happen, but we are not going for that part. Otherwise, we move to the pure coding part. So I'm doing it manually. And now let me exit from here. Let me exit from here. So what you can see here is this is a container running with MySQL, and this is the container who is holding your data. holding your data. Okay, so your data is there in the container. It means if I stop the container with stop command, container stop means your database will stop. If there's stop, it means you won't able to see the data. I'm not sure data will remove. Okay, but data is there in the OS shut down, so you won't able to access the data. But if you want to access data, again start the database container. So again start database container, your database again start, content start, so they automatically start your your databases. Okay, and your data is inside the container. It means now you can, if you want to see your data again, you can see. Just a quick check, just a quick check. Let me go inside my container. Let me again log in. Let me again go inside my my database, and let me again run the select command. You can see your data still exists. So what I'm trying to tell you, the data that you store inside the container is permanent. Okay, because sometimes sometimes guys feel, okay, that your data in the container is live till the container run. As soon as the container stop, data will remove. No, data that is stored in the container is permanent. That's called persistent. It won't delete till the time you manually delete the container. That's what we want, right? Why we use database? Because we want our data to be permanent. Second reason is we want our database to be organized in some format. That's called tabular format here. So that's what we have at this point in time. Okay, so this part is done. So in my multi-container setup, or my multi-container app, one layer has been set up. And by since Docker also give the IP address to this guy. So what is IP address? We can find the inspect command. So IP of this guy is 2. So in our case, the IP of the container is 2. Now let me launch one more computer. This one. Okay, one more computer. So how to launch? So one way is you can go and download the image of the Flask that is pre-created in the market. But we know already how to create the Flask because we have the Docker file already created and we learned it already. Okay, for this I can use some base image for NX, then install Python, then install a Flask, then get a directory, and so on. Okay, so right now guys I'm doing a small change here in this file for some reason. I'm doing some small change. Change is I am not using this line, neither this line or none of the line. Okay, what I'm doing, I'm only installing Python, Flask, and creating the folder. That's all. Means I'm not copying my app and neither I'm running my app. Why? I'll tell you the reason. Okay. And after this, I'm going to build the new image. Okay. And this image content what? Is only content Flask. That's all. So I can say this is my Flask image with version 1. And that is there in this folder. And one more thing guys, if you're already in the folder where Dockerfile exists, so instead you give the entire path, you can write dot also. Dot in the lines means the current folder. So either give the entire path or you can give the dot, is the same thing. So your new image will be built, guys. Guys, give me 1 minute, please. Please 1 minute. Created the image that contain Flask pre-installed. So whenever you have a requirement to do something Flask, you have the image. Okay, so it could be a base image maybe. Now on the top of this, what you want to do it. Okay, this image you can share to multiple teams, multiple developer. Every developer have different app. They put their app and run their code. Okay, run their code. This could be one useful. But here, what I'm going to do here, so I said Docker run IT. I'm going to launch a new container from my Flask app v1. So what you'll find here, because I have no entry point, no CMD, so mostly they will automatically launch a bash command for you. Okay, so what is this container? Come from this image. What this image contain? Python 3 And what does this contain? Flask. So now we don't have to install Flask in Python, it's pre-installed. Now only thing what you have to do here is writing the code and run the code. Okay, so I'm going to write the code, and why I'm doing so? Because my plan is to create this app where I don't have this app. So I'm going to create this app directly inside the container. Why? Just for testing, everything working fine. That is the only reason. Okay, so I'm going to create this app here in this computer. Okay, that's my plan. So I am going to create the app. I'm using vi as a command line here. Let's say my app name is called app.py. Okay, give any name, and I'm going to write a code. But my plan is, you know what? What is my plan? The plan is, okay, I want to write a code in Python that has the capability to go to database and connect. And after connecting, go and fetch the data and give to the Python. If Python does not know how to go to database and connect and get the data, how they can provide to the clients or the browser or the front end? For example, if you go to Facebook, it is a front end, right? You are getting this data. Why? Because when you hit to this URL, this is running with a backend program. And this backend program know how to go to database of Facebook, go and get the data. अगर बैकएंड को नहीं पता होगा डेटाबेस से जाके डेटा कैसे लेके आना है, आपको देगा कैसे? आपके पास जो डेटा आया है बैकएंड से आया है, और बैकएंड में था नहीं, वो डेटाबेस से लेके आया है. तो जब आप इसको पेज को रिफ्रेश करते हो, लिंक पे क्लिक करते हो, वो डेटा आपका इसलिए आता है क्योंकि वो जाता है बैकएंड के पास, और बैकएंड जाता है आपके बिहाफ पे, एक प्रोग्राम रन करता है, वो जाके डेटाबेस से कनेक्ट करता है, पहले वहां से डेटा को फेच करता है और फिर आपको लाके देता है. इसका मतलब बैकएंड में मुझे एक प्रोग्राम रन करना पड़ेगा जो जानता है डेटाबेस से कनेक्ट कैसे करते हैं और वहां से डेटा निकालते कैसे. इस प्रोग्राम का ये प्रोग्राम कौन बनाएगा? आप नहीं बनाओगे, आपका फुल स्टैक डेवलपर बनाएगा. जो फुल स्टैक में काम करता है या वेब एप्लीकेशन में काम करता है, बैकएंड में काम करता है, वो कोड बनाएगा, आपको नहीं बनाना. लेकिन फिर भी हम बनाएंगे यहाँ पे जस्ट टू सी द डेमो, एवरीथिंग वर्किंग फाइन होगा. एंड एक और रीजन में क्यों बना रहा हूँ यहाँ पे, इससे पता पड़ेगा आपको कि आपकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी क्या है. क्या मैं कोडिंग करूंगा ना, मैं बताऊंगा आपको ये वाला काम तो डेवलपर करेगा, आपको नहीं करना है. इससे समझ नहीं आया तो मैं समझो, और ये वाला काम आपसे पूछेगा तो उसको बताना है. ठीक है, तो आपको पता पड़ेगा अच्छा ये काम मेरा था तो मुझे ये करना था, बाकी काम वो कर रहे. So knowing the responsibility is very important. Otherwise, you won't follow the DevOps principles. So what is DevOps principle? Collaboration, collab, मिलके काम करो. ओके, वो तब कर पाओगे जब आपको आसपास की चीज पता होगी. करनी नहीं है, कोडिंग करनी नहीं है बैकएंड की, पता होनी चाहिए ऐसा कुछ होता है. That's the idea. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here. So the one thing is what I want. I want the Python Flask app हम लोग बनाएंगे that has a capability to go and connect to database. So guys, in any programming language, if you want your programming language can do something else for you, we have to install libraries. Okay, and because here I'm going to connect with MySQL, so here we have to install one library called MySQL. So how to install Python library? Pin install. Okay, and I need a library that Flask can go to MySQL. So this is the library name. So this is the container. In this container, we need this library. And right now, this library we are installing because we are learning right now, testing. But in the future, this library will be installed by Dockerfile. Okay, so this will be automated. But I'm installing it right now manually. Okay, so this is one code. The app installed. Now I'm going to create the app. And what I'm going to create, I say I am going to use the Flask app, import Flask function. And when you run the Flask function, whatever the namespace of the Python we have, I'm going to run my app. Run my app. Okay. Similarly, Flask also provide you some extension. This is called Flask extension of the MySQL, where they give you MySQL functions. Again, you don't have to memorize this. Developer will do for you. And MySQL function, we will call and store one variable called MySQL. Okay, something like this. Then I say MySQL, okay, connect to database and do the remaining part. But understand one thing, guys. Right now, I'm here. Don't focus on the code, but technically we are here. Okay, and if you are a Python or you are a human being, whoever you are, does not matter. If you want to connect to database, what you need? You need a database IP address. You need username. You need password. Okay, so in this code, before we connect, what we need? We need the IP address of database. So in my case, IP address of database I show you already. Okay, the IP address of the database is, you can find from here, inspect command. So I know the IP address. The IP address is 2. In this IP address, the username we created is called Vimal. Password I created is called Linux Red Hat. And in this database, I create a database where my data store is called Linux World DB. So understand one thing, guys. Okay, this is the IP address of database. What happened? This is the IP address of database. Who know this? Containerized Docker. Because you are the one. So developer asks from you. Tell me the IP address. Okay, what is the username of the database? Okay, we know. We'll tell this guy. What is the password? We know. Okay, what is database name? We, DevOps guys, we know this is database name. So this information we give to the developer. Developer store somewhere in some their local variables, and then this information they can pass to this function for what? For connect. To connect. Okay. So my point is, this code what I write, what the code I'm going to write, it is not important. Important is they need the information from you, and because you are the one who launch it, so you know the entire information, where database is running, the IP address, and so on. And then you have to provide this guy. So this guy will use in the code so they can connect. Because my code is going to run somewhere here, somewhere here. If this code does not know where the database, how to log in, how to fetch, then it won't work. The whole idea. And right now, what I'm doing, I'm not writing the code. I just quickly check. So I search for Python extension Flask for my SQL database connection. You can find this code how to connect. So let me get the code from here. There's a multiple line we write to save the time. I am getting this code if they available somewhere, or maybe somewhere GitHub. Okay, so this is what I write already. Okay, and why I am going, guys, to the examples here in the Google. There's a reason. The reason is the way, guys, I show you here. MySQL image, right? Is image. The guy who created the image, they know which variables they support. Okay, if I does not know variable, how it works, right? So there's nothing called memorize, right? You never memorize the variable because they know what variable they use. We get from the document. Similarly, Flask also has some internal variable for connecting to MySQL. Okay, so right now here I use random variables name, but they have some specific variable to be used that we'll have to pass here. Okay, I don't know this variable name because this program is not covered. This library is not covered by me. So I'll go to that document. They'll tell us. So that's what I'm doing here. Nothing special. So somewhere this is the library we installed. Okay, and somewhere they might tell you this, not the somewhere. Very quickly. So let me Python plus MySQL database connection. Okay, so you'll find some example. Because to connect to MySQL Flask, there is multiple. Yeah, this is the one I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking for. Okay, format. So I'll try to take the exact example because we are not planning. No, this is the different one because to connect Python with Flask, there's a multiple way, a lot of libraries available. I'm looking for Flask library example. So uh, it might be okay. No, this is different actually. It's not the same one because a lot of library Python is open source. They come with lot of library. The library that I use, I am looking for their document. Okay, their document. So this is again not the example. Again this part you don't have to do, guys. This is done by the developers. Okay, depend upon which database they connect and which library they connect. This is what we do. But I'm looking for this keyword actually. This syntax always fixed. They have this keyword. So if you search for Python, so Flask MySQL library, you can find some document. There you can find these keywords that done by developer. So that's what I'm looking right now. Okay. So I have my local repository. I think I have there. Let me check for a minute. Otherwise, I'll go to Python Flask MySQL. MySQL connection. No, this also. So I think I have my local repository. If I have somewhere in my drive, then I give the exact keyword. One more, guys. Okay, so I have a keyword with me. Let me use the same keyword. Otherwise, you can find the Google. I have with me locally, so let me use the same one. Okay, so this keyword, guys, understand one thing. This keyword for images. Okay, that I explain you when we create the pre-create image we use, right? But the keyword that I'm going to use here, it is not for you. It is not for you. It is developer guys will write. So developer will write. Say, we have an app. This app. In this app, we have to put a keyword, and one of the keyword what we are going to put is known as MySQL database user. So this was the keyword I'm looking for. Who will tell this? The guy who created this library. So you can find somewhere document, you can find it, you can find this library. Again, this is not done by you, done by the the developers, this code. Okay, so this is one of the keyword I have to use. MySQL database user keyword. You have this? Fantastic. So thank you very much. Okay, so so like this, we have to write one more keyword, MySQL database database host means the IP address. In this case, even though I can use this variable also, same thing, right? So let me use IP variable user variable because we stored local the values and MySQL database password store in a password variable above, and this is my DB name and it's called MySQL database. That's all. Developer get this code. But that's one thing. This code done by developer do by some looking at the document which library they use. The hundreds library available in the market. Okay, and only thing is this information will be given by you. Otherwise, the remaining part will be done by developer. And finally, they call the MySQL language, and then say MySQL. I want to initialize your app. Which app? This app. So this app I would have to initialize. Okay, that's all. This is what you have to do here. Okay, and just to quick check everything working fine or not. इसको थोड़ा नीचे करना कोड को. Connection there. To quick check, I'm saying MySQL, wherever information I give to you, can you please connect? Connect. And at this moment, I'm storing in the connection variable, and I'm printing the connection variable just to quick check. So what I'm doing here, I am guys sitting here, okay, and here I'm going to run the one app. This app is going to connect to MySQL to these details, and this app is running running inside the container. Which container? First container. And first container guys has a connectivity container 2 who will give Docker. If they have right connectivity, MySQL rightly set up, we have the same username password, what I write in the code, it will work. So let me show you. If I run the Python 3, this app, you can see there is no error. This line means we have successfully connected. That means I am into backend container 1, they're successfully connected. But if I give some wrong information here, just to quick check, let's say you have given a wrong IP address. 3. If wrong information, IP is not there, that is not a container running 3, they'll fail. See, they fail. So I'm just trying to prove you, okay, the code created by the developer and the information given by you as a Docker guides to the developer is working fine. And second thing is, this is a different container, that is a different container. Okay, so right now my code is running here and database here, but this code is able to connect to my database. Or in my case, this is my backend able to connect to my my database layer. So it is working fine. If you want to do something extra code here, after connection, if you want to go and retrieve the data also, okay. So in the connection, guys, there's a concept in the database world called cursor. Cursor means it's a pointer. I will go to my table. First line, I would pick the data. Second line, I want to pick the data. So that's what the cursor means. So I'm storing this guy into cursor variable. If you want to check, otherwise no requirement. Okay, so I'm setting the cursor, and then what I'm going to do, I'm asking this cursor wherever you're pointing to the first line of the database. Okay, you have to execute one command, and command name is what? Same. Select star from table, and table what I created there, guys, called students. So rather than you run this command by yourself manually, now who will run this command for you? Your backend. That's all. So this command will run, and then cursor guys, wherever they are running this command, they will fetch all data. And this data guys is stored in a data variable, and just to print, I'll print the data. So again, don't worry if it does not understand this code, that's okay, because we are not running full stack. Okay, but this is what we are doing, and let me read this line. Okay, and now what I will show you here, I'm into this container. See here, this container has no data, this container has a data, this is a different IP, but still from a backend I can able to fetch the entire data. See here, top right, this is the backend running Flask, but I can able to fetch the entire data. But this data is fetched by you right now by sitting here in this container locally. But in the future, okay, my client won't go to backend. For example, you never go to Facebook backend. Backend. You always in the front end. And whenever guys, anyone who want to access data from the front end, you always use URL. And for the URL, you have to create a web application development. How? With a Flask, the way I show you in my last class also. So for this, what do you do? We just write simple, simple function of the Python. Just called Linux World Data Function. Okay, and in this function, I'm going to write this code. Connect the data, then go to some pointer, go to database, run this command, fetch the data, and the print the information. The function is mostly always written. So we say we written the data. And this data guys, database give you data in some other format. But we want a data will written in string format. So we'll use str function to convert into string. But when this function run, when anyone come to app in some route, which route you can give the name, let's say slash data. That's all. Okay, so in this app, anyone who come to this slash data URL, who will come, obviously your front-end guys by the URL. Okay, behind the scene, you connect to database, go to pointer, means first line, run this command, get all data and return the entire data. To whom? Front-end means your client. Okay, client means your front-end. So this code, guys, you can, if you want to practice, take this code as it is. Okay, my plan is not to explain this code actually, but I want to show you that everything running in the container. That's what I'm going to prove you. Nothing else. Okay, so that's what we do. So let me close this code. Okay, yeah, one more small thing I forgot here. We always run the app in the Flask. So app run. And with this, I want this app to be run by from any IP in the world. Now this concept you know already from networking class. Okay, I want they run from any of the IP. Okay, that's what. And finally, when I try to run this app, your Flask will start. Now, if you go to anyone go to this URL, now who goes to this URL? The client. So technically, according to the last diagram, I'm here. I'm here. Who is this? This is the front end browser. And the browser, when you type the URL, that is also known as API, you hit to your backend. It's called Flask. Okay. So the URL or the API is called slash data. When you hit enter, this information go to Flask. Flask say when you come to slash data, I will run the function. What this function will do? This function will go to backend, get data and provide to you. Provide to you. You can see here, that's fantastic. It is exactly like Facebook, right? There's a front end. There's a front end. This front end go to the URL, the backend. Facebook also go to backend. A backend don't have data. Backend will go and get the data from database and provide to you. So this also provide the data to you in the front. Okay. So in this case, IP3 is your backend. This IP does not have a data. Does not have a data. Who have data? IP2. But you don't have IP2 connectivity, still you can get the data. This is called multi-tier. Okay. So right now I'm not teaching you the full stack. Normally full text take a lot of time, actually 2-3 months to learn. Okay. So my intention is not to teach you full stack. My intention is to show you in the real world, the entire full stack deployment will done on the top of containers. And this is what the common architecture we follow. Architecture would be, let me stop this. Would be we have two container. This is for the backend and this is for the database. A remaining part will be done by the Docker. They give the IP, they give the connectivity, all the thing. Only thing that you have to provide to your backend guys is the detail of these guys. The IP of DB, login and password and so on. Okay, that's what you have to provide. But this part, right now I've done this, all this part manually. Manually. Okay. What I did manually, I installed the library manually, other thing manually. Okay, so this part can only work in this container. Before, if you launch one more container, same thing you have to repeat again. So if you don't want to repeat again, so what I can do, I can create the Docker file. And Docker file, do one thing. I want to run the app where this container Flask also have a connectivity to MySQL. So install this more library. Okay, then copy the code. Copy the code with the name, let's say vimal.py. Okay, which code? The code what we created today. This code. So this code, guys, I don't have there. Okay, so what I'm going to do, this code, let me first copy here. The code what I had initially is old code. Let me remove this code. I don't want this code because I changed the code. I also don't want this file. Let me remove also. Only we have Docker file. And the code what I created here is somewhere in my Docker. So let me copy paste manually. Okay. So the Docker, this is a base system. I just for testing I created here. So code is working fine. So let me copy this code, paste the code. Okay. Or you can do with Docker copy command also we can use. Okay. But I'm doing with graphical copy. We copy till int app. Okay, and let me copy this part. Okay, so what I did, nothing. What the code what we had is old copy. My last code, what I copy in the Docker file in the image does not have MySQL connectivity. Now this code has the connectivity part. So I go to my Docker file and so copy this code to this file into this folder, and then use the entry point. Entry point to run my Python program, and name of the program what I would like to run is vimal.py. That's all. Okay, so this is a Docker file I created. Now in the Docker file what I have, base image, Python install, Flask because I want to create a Flask web app, Flask MySQL because I want Flask also kind of to connect to database, and the code developed by the developer I'll copy here and then I run. That's what we are doing here. And let me build the image. Okay, let's say my Flask version 2 dot. That's all. So now onward, guys, everything is completely automated. Completely automated. Okay, what I mean by this? What I mean by this? Right now we are running with the MySQL. That is or it was automated. This if container launch just to test something. Now this container I don't want. Let me remove this container. When I launch to do some test, I don't need. What I have only one container database. Now this image will be created. Now I'm going to launch one more container. Docker run IT with my Flask v2 that we put in the background, and this would be my backend. Okay, backend, BEM backend, or let me use app. That's all, guys. Done. Okay. So this is a database, this is backend. The way we run the backend, we run this program automatically by entry point, but this program has a capability to connect database automatically because we write all the IP address using the password. So if you know the IP of your backend, how to know? Docker inspect app. You know the IP address. Go to this IP address. Hit enter. You can see it will come up. It's one click. Okay. I teach you, explain you. I create Docker IMA. It takes time because we're learning. We're also creating. But technically, if you think, if I give these two images, this image to my testing team, this image to my testing team, what happened? They run two command Docker run 2 times. That's all. You set up run. One click database start. One click app start. They have a connectivity and they're ready to use. They can quickly come here, test, they can give the client can use. Okay, it's super fast. One click database launch within a second, one click app launch within a second, everything we do automatically behind the code. Okay, and so thing is super fast. Okay, only thing that might take a time is this app development. That is not your hand duty. That is done completely done by the web developer guys. Okay, so in this part guys, I intensely, even though guys in the Docker level of training we don't learn and see the code. Typically if you go and see any Docker training, we always see the Docker command run, stop, start and other things also. Okay, but that we never give you the clarity how we use Docker in the real world. Only running and launching Docker does not make sense. Where we use, what are the right use cases, how to call it properly, what is my responsibility, what are other responsibility. It will only come up when you see these kind of example. But in this example, you don't have to bother about कि सर ये मुझे समझ नहीं आया, ये क्या लिख दिया, क्या हो गया, ये समझना भी नहीं. इस पूरे कोड में आपको कुछ भी नहीं समझना है, पर इतना समझना है कि जब डेवलपर कोड बनाएगा आपसे बार पूछेगा कि भैया डेटाबेस का नाम बताओ, यूजर पासवर्ड बताओ, ताकि वो हाँ लगा सके इस जगह. देख रहा ऊपर, बस. इसका मतलब आपसे कुछ मांग रहा है तो जेन्युइनली मांग रहा है. वो आपसे क्यों मांग रहा है? क्योंकि आप ही ने MySQL इमेज को लॉन्च किया है, आपको पता है यूजर पासवर्ड क्या है, वही तो हमने शेयर किया इन्वायरमेंट में डॉकर MySQL में, इसलिए आपको बनाना पड़ेगा. पर रिमेनिंग पार्ट ऑफ कनेक्टिविटी डन बाय डॉकर ऑटोमेटिकली नेटवर्किंग के थ्रू. So this is what I created some real example, real project I can say. So in this project we have two containers, and both the container are independent container, both are going to have independent IP address, both are going to have independent images, but entire container, multiple container connect together become the one app. It's called multi-container app. In the real world guys, we always use multi-container apps. We never use single container app because we never have single tier app in the real world. So that is the demonstration of this concept. Okay, so practice this. We'll share this code to you. Practice this. One more thing guys, you start following. Okay, I think you guys have their GitHub accounts. Okay, start putting your projects in the GitHub accounts. In the first day we have created the memory merging example, put in the GitHub. Like this, multiple small tasks, small project we have created, put in the GitHub. This also example you can put in the GitHub. That we have created a project of multi-container apps. Where my front end is a normal client, my backend is a Flask app, my database layer is a MySQL, and where we are doing this. If you know something more about front end, you can create a front end code also, HTML, CSS, JavaScript to make it more beautiful. If you know. Okay, if you know something more of MySQL or Python, you can add some more code. That's a different point. It's your choice. At least you can see, as a Docker perspective, we have created this kind of end-to-end connectivity. The thing is working. Okay, and why is important? when you are talking and doing the Docker interview. Okay, so this will give you a lot of confidence. हमने डॉकर में से डॉकर रन कमांड, डॉकर अटैच कमांड रन नहीं करी है, एक्सिक्यूट कमांड, हमने पूरा कोड को रन करके उसको पूरा एंड टू एंड डिप्लॉय किया है. ठीक है, तो आपको कोई भी बैठ के ये नहीं पूछने वाला है, क्योंकि फुल स्टैक के जॉब के लिए जा रहे हो, जो कंटिन्यू भी होने वाला है. पर इफ यू ऐड दोस पॉइंट आल्सो दैट सर हमने ये बनाया था उसको क्लास MySQL से कनेक्ट किया था, सब कुछ मल्टी फ्लास्क ऐप को मैंने डॉकर के मल्टी कंटेनर्स में सेटअप किया था. इट गिव यू लॉट ऑफ बूस्ट कॉन्फिडेंस इन योर वर्ड्स आल्सो, एंड उसको लगे आपने कुछ अच्छा किया. यू ऑलवेज गिव दैट एडवांटेज, लॉट ऑफ एक्स्ट्रा एडवांटेज. ओके, तो इस कोड को पहले प्रैक्टिस करो, अपने लैप चलाओ, और फिर जो चलने वाला कोड पूरा होगा उसको भी GitHub में डाल दो. और GitHub का अकाउंट बना लो, github.com में जाओ, वहां पे वही डालना स्टार्ट कर दो. और किसी को अगर आता नहीं है वहां पे प्रोजेक्ट कैसे डालते हैं, तो अभी देवली बताएगा 5 मिनट. GitHub का अकाउंट बनाना आसान है, बना लेना कि कैसे यहाँ पे हम प्रोजेक्ट को अपलोड करते हैं. Okay, so git commit, git add, git commit, git push, 3 commands, or we can directly add there also graphically. Okay, so this is one point. Practice this. After you this practice, we have a quiz. Quiz, then you can put in the GitHub. Okay, अब क्या करो? अभी जो LinkedIn आएगा डालोगे ना पोस्ट, उसमें ही करना. कि मैंने बनाया है और मेरा कोड का गिटहब का जो लिंक है वो ये। अब से ऐसा करो, ओके, गिटहब का लिंक डालो आपके लिंक में पोस्ट, ओके। दिस इज व्हाट वी डू। वन मोर थिंग आई वांट टू टेल यू गाइस, ओके। दो तीन टॉपिक थोड़े से इंपॉर्टेंट है हो सकते हैं आपके इंटरव्यू में, ओके। वो दे कैन आस्क यू some topic related to inode. They might ask you something related to file system, format type, ext3, ext4, xfs. They might ask you partitions, swap, or the lvm, lvm extend and reduce, something like this. Okay, so what I'm giving, I told you in the morning also, I'm giving the video. So right now, okay, if you think this practice you're done already, start reading this video. Put the earphone in the mobile phone, we'll give you a link of my video, and this complete concept wise practical I will show you there. If you think you don't have get a time to do a practical, don't do, maybe that's okay right now, but at least just go through video. I cover almost every topic in very detail. There are 4 or 5 videos I'm going to share you in your respective groups. Okay, complete this. I'm not going to discuss here because there's no requirement to invest that time there, but they will ask. There's a 99% chances. Okay, so complete those videos. First practice this, then go for this video. Okay, that's all. Any query anyone has till now? What we discussed right now, offline and online?
RHL 8. Okay, so in RHL 8, guys, just wait 1 minute. Okay, so let's start. So in RHL 8, if you want to connect with GitHub, then we have, if you know, we have git command. If you don't have git command installed, what you can do, you can do dnf install git. So it will install the git command in your system. So, but in my system is already installed, so you can see nothing to do. Okay, so what I did, I just take the SS of my RHL 9 system to my base Windows system. Okay, so there are lots of ways to connect with GitHub. If you go to github.com, here you can create your own account. After creating account, just open your profile. Then in profile, if in this menu, you can go to the setting menu. Okay, go to setting. Then in setting, if you check the left side, we have SS key and GPG keys. Okay, here you can see I have already one key with me. I already connected my local laptop to my GitHub. Okay, so I'm gonna delete this now. Okay, so you can see now it's fresh new setup. I don't have any keys connected to my GitHub account. So what I'm gonna do, if you want to know more about the keys, it's cryptography part. We have RSA keys and lots of type of keys. Okay, so we are going to create the keys for this. So for creating key, we have SS keygen command. We can use -t option to define the type of keys. Okay, which key you want to create? You can also check the help of SS keygen, SS-keygen, and check the help of this command. Sorry, it will creating. You can go to the manual. Okay, here you can check the all the option. It's support for creating key. So for we are using -t option, so we are going to define the type of the key. Here you can see we have -t cat. We have lots of more types of key. So we are defining the key which we want to generate. We are going to generate the RSA keys. Then we define the bytes, how many bytes we want, 4096, and this is the comment. Okay, if you want to put the comment, you can put, or you don't need to put, then you don't. Okay, so after, let me just first create the key. This is keygen, then paste this command. If I put enter, generating public private RSA keys. So here you can see it's stored the keys in the my slash root directory. In my slash root directory we have dot SSS folder, it's hidden folder. In that folder I have id underscore RSA file. Okay, if you want to change the path, you can directly enter the path here, which in which folder you want to save the keys. But I am going to default directory, so I press enter. If you want to set the password, so you can set the password, but I am not gonna set password. Just press enter. It's asking password again, so just again press enter. After creating the keys, you can see you can use ss hyphen add command. Then okay, sorry, you don't need to use add command. Just see the keys id underscore pub. Okay, if you see the keys here, you can see I created the keys. So I am gonna copy these keys. Okay, just copy these keys. Okay, open your GitHub account, go to setting, SSS keys, create one new SSS keys. Okay, here we can give the like title Red Hat 9 or something which you want to give, then just paste the keys. Okay, after pasting you can click add SSS keys, then verify the account password. Okay, and you can see my keys are added successfully. Now if you want to check the connectivity, then we can try with SSS. GitHub give us one command, SSS hyphen t git at github.com. Okay, if you try this, here it's for testing. In someone GitHub server, they are running with the domain name github.com, and they are using git user. Whenever we SSS that user, they tell you you are connected to GitHub or not. Here you can see it will print. Just wait for a second. Here you can see, are you sure want to connect? When we try to connect with any remote host, you always see this message. If I press yes, here you can see permanently added. Hi, here it will print the GitHub username of my account, and you are successfully authenticated. Okay, so we are now connected to GitHub. Now we have to add the repositories, means we want to put our folder code in my GitHub. So like I have one folder, let me go to cd my app. Okay, I have one folder. In which folder I have app.py file and docker file. So firstly, what you have to do, go to your GitHub profile, then go to home screen. Okay, here click on new and create a new repository. Okay, whatever name you want to give. So I'm gonna give docker file underscore test. Okay, so after giving name, you can select the type of repository you want to give the access to public, or you want to use the private. Okay, and here if you want to connect your this repository with git, means your CLI, then don't initialize this repository, don't add readme file. Okay, just untick this. If you tick this, so you will face lots of error when connecting the same repository with your. Okay, so after creating, just what you have to do, just copy this command, open terminal again, paste, just copy this command, paste, and press enter. Okay, failure to push to refer git and github.com. Okay, you will see this kind of error. So what we have to do, we have to run this command. Like we have to set the configuration file, which in which we set the identity which person is uploading. So in email you can set your email ID. Okay, and same for you have to declare the name variable also in config file. Okay, so after this, if you try to push, again run this command. Remote origin already exists. Now you can check. If you refresh this page, you can see the repository is initialized. Okay, after this, if you want to use if you check the ls, now what we are going to do, I want to upload this file. So what I do, I use git add command, git add dot all the current files I want to add. So you can press enter. So if you check the git status command, you can check uh, changes to commit, we added new files. Okay, so now I am going to add commit, git commit, then press my first commit. Okay, now via hyphen yum option, sorry, git commit hyphen yum. Okay, so now we are committed this file. If you check the git status command, you can see the status. We want to push these files to our github. Now we are going to use git push command. Okay, now if you go back and if you check, you can see our files is here. Okay, docker file and app.py file. Okay, now if you want to push the files in already exist repository, like I have my repository, let me check. I have I have one repository, video summarizer. Okay, let me open this. If you want to push any new files in this repository, so what we can do, just copy this. But here, if you are here, we have one problem. Okay, so if you are logging with SSH keys, then you have to copy the URL of SSH only. If you copy the HTTPS URL, then if you try to push, it's gonna give error. Okay, so always remember this thing. If you are using SSH keys to log in GitHub, so always use the SSH URL. Okay, so what we are going to do, if you want to make changes in this file, so just copy this URL. Let me change my folder. Let me go to mkdir git underscore test cd git test ls. I'm gonna clone this, git clone. Okay, just clone this. If you check, it's cloning. Now if you check ls, here you can see the repository is downloaded locally. If you do video summarizer ls, I have lots of file. Okay, but I want to make some changes in my existing repository. So what you can do, you can just, I have cgi bin folder here. So if you check in, I have upload.py file. But what I want to do, I just want to change the what we can change here, I just want to change this print statement. I don't want to use print. Okay, so I'm gonna delete this. Just delete, then save. Okay, cd dot dot ls. Okay, let me again use. Okay, ls. If you check git status command, you can say we modified the upload file in cgi bin folder. So what we want to do now, you can use git add dot git commit hyphen yum. Okay, if you don't give the,
Hello, am I audible now? Can you hear me? Okay, if you are using graphical tool of any graphical tool, so if you don't use the commit command, it will automatically open the notepad. Okay, if you don't pass the commit here, it will automatically open the notepad. Now I have vim editor, so it will automatically open the vim editor if you don't pass hyphen yum option and commit here. Okay, so I'm just gonna pass hyphen yum option, then pass the commit, whichever changes I make. So just like I remove print statement. Okay, just save this, then git push. Okay, so in that way you can change the changes in your existing repository. If I check, if I refresh this page now, okay, if I go to CJ bin folder, upload.py, you can see the code is removed. Okay, if you have any question, please ask me. So I am just sharing the commands here. Do one thing, just use these commands. Okay, yes, you can use this command, you don't need to use this command. Okay, you just need to create the SS key, and here we can pass the commit in, we can pass the email ID, or if you don't want to pass, but it's recommended to pass from GitHub. So you can, after creating the SS key, then you can use cat command to see that SS key, copy and open your GitHub setting and paste the SS key there. Okay,